subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Orochimaru's nonsense. I think we'll talk about this later. Orochimaru, should you explain to me the deal you just made with that Orochimaru? Sarutobi Hiruzen also interrupted the two, staring at Orochimaru with scorching eyes and questioning. Trade? The deal was that I resurrected him, and he gave me 2 copies of the source of the cursed seal and some research materials. Sarutobi-sensei, do you want him to stay in my body and go back to the past? Orochimaru confessed directly, without seeming to hide anything. Under those strange snake eyes, people couldn't see clearly what Orochimaru was really like for a while. The cursed seal of the sky resurrected through the seal on his body has lost the consciousness of the middle-aged Orochimaru, become a pure cursed seal force. Sarutobi Hiruzen was speechless after hearing the words. Etc. I now have a question. You know the future now, and when you go back, you will definitely change the past and affect the present. But why do I not have these memories? The middle-aged Jiraiya looked at the two arguing, rubbed his head, and said in doubt. Sarutobi Hiruzen held his breath when he heard this, and looked at Orochimaru suspiciously. He also thought about this question just now. It's just that a series of changes left him no time to think carefully. It's the parallel world factor. From the moment we came here, the trajectories of the two worlds have been changed without affecting each other. So don't pursue such a deep question. If you think too much, you will lose your mind. Seeing this, Shiraishi interrupted just in time to explain. This kind of question is beyond their comprehension. Since it doesn't affect each other, then there is no need to worry so much. Old man, I need you to explain to Tsunade now. The middle-aged Jiraiya looked serious, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, and said seriously. Okay, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the resolute middle-aged Jiraiya and replied in a deep voice. Shiraishi, let's begin then. Watching Sarutobi Hiruzen and the middle-aged Orochimaru leave, Orochimaru spoke sternly to Shiraishi. Okay, Shiraishi made up his mind and nodded, looking at Orochimaru with death. Orochimaru took out the scroll just now and unsealed it, found a potion and swallowed it in one gulp. The next moment, Orochimaru's neck stretched like a snake, and he bit Shiraishi's back. The source of the cursed seal hidden in Orochimaru's body is injected into Shiraishi's body along with the snake's teeth. Shiraishi only felt a pain in the back of his neck and fainted to the ground with a muffled grunt. On the back of his neck, 3 black hook jades manifested, glowing scarlet and flickering. But Orochimaru's mouth did not leave Shiraishi's neck. I said 90% before, but it is actually Orochimaru's test for Shiraishi. The origin of the curse seal is actually more dangerous. Almost none exist. But the strength after success is also the least corrosive to the body. Danger is very dangerous. But this is not an experiment. As long as Orochimaru recovers the source of the cursed seal in time, there will be no danger to his life. At most, the physique is eroded and weakened by the cursed seal for a period of time. Under Orochimaru's nervous gaze, the original curse seal flickered a few times and then completely stabilized. Black curse marks emerged from the curse marks and soon spread all over Shiraishi's body. The chakra belonging to Shiraishi suddenly soared more than 10 times, and the white-blue chakra visible to the naked eye ignited. This state is the official manifestation of Mantra Seal 1. Seeing this, Orochimaru's eyes flickered, and he let go of Shiraishi's neck and stared at Shiraishi unexpectedly. Because he has the same root as Orochimaru, he also received the cursed seal containing Orochimaru's will. That's why it's so easy to receive the power of the cursed seal and turn on state 1. But how could Shiraishi enter the state so easily? It seems that your body doesn't seem to be an ordinary physique either. Orochimaru muttered to himself while staring at the sleeping Shiraishi and reached out to grab Shiraishi and walked towards Tsunade. The first time you open the cursed seal, you have to let Shiraishi wake up and absorb the power of the cursed seal to the maximum extent. Chapter 36, The Power of the Seal, The symposium begins when Naidame passed away unexpectedly. The old man was ordered to become the third Hokage when he was in danger. At that time, there were many voices of doubt in the village. But in the war period, everyone still had the same hatred. With the help of the major families, Konoha finally ended the battle with victory. Afterwards, the village inevitably fell into a power struggle. The power struggle once panicked the village and weakened Hokage's authority. At that time, Danzo proposed to establish a root organization to guard Hokage's authority. In order for Konoha not to be split, the old man agreed to this proposal. In just 1 year, with the help of Root, the village entered into stability. After that, Danzo got Naidame's research on wood style. After the cruelty of the war, the old man and Danzo agreed that Konoha needed another ninja god. Defend the future of Konoha with wood style. After seeking Senju's consent, the village began to secretly study the possibility of copying wood style. There was no problem at the beginning, until it entered the human experiment. Horrible things happened. As long as anyone comes into contact with first-generation cells, they will be swallowed by wood style and become a big tree in the breath. Whether it's an ordinary ninja or a Senju clan, there are no exceptions. The only difference is the length of time. Danzo finally came to a conclusion that the qualifications of the adapter were not enough. He proposed experimenting with Shodai's direct bloodline. However, this proposal was rejected by the old man in order to stop the experiment. Later, Danzo secretly studied it, which the old man did not expect. Maybe he still wants to successfully replicate the wood-style myth. That's what wood-style research is all about. Tsunade, I'm so sorry about Nawaki. After I go back this time, I will disband Root, take back all of Danzo's duties, and let him perform tasks as an ordinary Jonin. In front of a crowd, Sarutobi Hiruzen told the whole story of the Root Danzo and wood-style experiment, as well as the arrangement for Danzo. Such a fact immediately made the two Jiraiya and Tsunade look at each other in dismay. This result is too friendly to Danzo. No, I don't agree. Danzo's ambitions are more than that. As I said, for Konoha's future, Danzo must die. Orochimaru put the unconscious Shiraishi next to Naruto and said coldly, Orochimaru, what does this mean? Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression changed. He stared at Orochimaru and asked, Orochimaru, you still did something to this child. The middle-aged Jiraiya looked at Shiraishi, who was in the first spell, stared at Orochimaru with cold eyes, and said angrily, It's his choice. Jiraiya, don't worry about my disciple. Orochimaru responded unceremoniously to the middle-aged Jiraiya, and then looked at the unconscious Naruto. Orochimaru, who receives the memories of middle-aged Orochimaru, knows that this is the current Nine Tails Jinchuriki Uzumaki Naruto. At the same time, it is also the reincarnation of Ashura in Shiraishi's mouth, 7th Hokage Uzumaki Naruto. Thinking of Ashura's reincarnation, Orochimaru's eyes flashed a strange color, and he had an idea. At this moment, the comatose Shiraishi suddenly opened his eyes, and the black marks on his body glowed bright scarlet. This is what a powerful force. At least 10 times as much as my previous chakra. Shiraishi stood up, feeling the terror in his body, and chakra shouted in surprise. You're awake, are you all right? Seeing Shiraishi wake up so quickly, a flash of surprise flashed in Orochimaru's eyes, and he asked with concern, The body is fine. On the contrary, it feels great now. Shiraishi grinned, as if he knew it from birth, and the spell slowly faded away with a thought. Orochimaru saw a flash of surprise in his pupils again. He didn't expect Shiraishi to be able to manipulate the spell so quickly. Shiraishi's body is really not an ordinary existence. Orochimaru passed the middle-aged Orochimaru's memory, but there is a period of adaptation after knowing the cursed seal. Orochimaru, the mountain city of Shiraishi. I need an explanation now. What's the matter with you two? You guys know the future? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the harmonious master and student and asked impatiently, This is not the place to talk. Master, you set up a barrier first. Now that it's over, Shiraishi doesn't want to hide anything from Orochimaru. Orochimaru nodded. His hands were about to form a mudra. Let me do it. I'm very good at enchantment. Summoning barrier toad prison. The middle-aged Jiraiya opened his mouth to stop Orochimaru, slapped his hands on the ground, and shouted. With a bang, a red gourd-shaped toad appeared in front of everyone. As soon as the gourd toad appears, it pulls the plug out of its mouth. In an instant, Sarutobi Hiruzen, big and small Tsunade, two Jiraiya, Orochimaru, Shiraishi, Naruto, Shizen were all pulled into the stomach of the gourd toad. Shiraishi felt a blur in front of his eyes and entered a place full of acid. Shiraishi knew immediately what ninjutsu it was. This is the enchantment space technique that even Rinnegan couldn't perceive in the Battle of Pain. Toad stomach, what a powerful enchantment technique. My future self will be great too. After Jiraiya looked around, she immediately boasted. The previous battle made Jiraiya very embarrassed. Ahaha, of course, I am Jiraiya, one of the Rishi, known as one of the Sannin. Middle-aged Jiraiya said with her head held high. A pair of wretched little eyes secretly looked at little Tsunade. It is a rare experience to see the youthful and moving Tsunade again, although the middle-aged Tsunade has the 100 healings mark. But that kind of youthful breath can never reach the true youthful invincibility. Jiraiya, I didn't expect you to be so stubborn. Don't look at me with that nasty look. You dirty old man. The young Tsunade couldn't stand the gaze of the middle-aged Jiraiya and punched the middle-aged Jiraiya on the head with a shout. The 51-year-old middle-aged Jiraiya is older than the 38-year-old Sarutobi Hiruzen, and the 22-year-old Tsunade can't stand it. Oh, it's still a familiar force. It's really nostalgic. The middle-aged Jiraiya yelled and sighed shyly with a PSY old face. Ahem, future me, you should restrain yourself. What a shame. The thin-skinned Jiraiya whispered, covering his forehead. Fool, what a shame. It's my hero Jiraiya's true nature to like beautiful women. You look like this, how can you spread the broad mind of the immortal in the future? Here, I will give you a copy of my novel Long Horizons. No matter what, on my own, I won't treat you badly. The middle-aged Jiraiya rebuked Jiraiya angrily and took out his classic masterpiece and said proudly, Fiction? Could it be that I am really the writer of the great Toad Sage prophecy in the future? Jiraiya's eyes lit up, and she yelled that she was about to flip through the little red book after taking it. But when he saw the passionate picture on the cover, he froze in place. Sarutobi Hiruzen next to him saw it inadvertently, and his expression changed dramatically. Staring at the middle-aged Jiraiya with weird eyes. This guy, isn't he writing something like that? Fool, of course, you have to go back and taste the good things. Now it's still time to get down to business. The middle-aged Jiraiya looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's weird eyes with an old face and hurriedly stopped him. Ahem, Orochimaru, the mountain city of Shiraishi. Now you guys should let me know why. Do you really know the future? Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face changed. He turned his head and said seriously. In an instant, other people's eyes turned to the two of them at the same time. Chapter 37 Tension, Shiraishi's probe. Master, you can really be lazy. So troublesome thing I have to say again. Shiraishi spread his hands helplessly and at the same time realized what Orochimaru meant. Except for the identity issue, I can tell the truth about everything else. Yamashiro Shiraishi, I have a question. You who know the future, why did you choose to rebel against Orochimaru? Don't you think my third Hokage can't make you trust me? Sarutobi Hiruzen stared into Shiraishi's eyes intently, grabbing the lead. Yes. Why didn't you choose me, Master Jiraiya? I am the teacher of the destinies child prophesied by the great Toad Sage. You can see the future. You must be the child of destiny in the prophecy. Do you want to come and worship me as a teacher? Jiraiya's eyes lit up, and she shouted excitedly when she thought of the big toad's prophecy. This made the middle-aged Jiraiya next to him change his expression slightly, staring at Shiraishi scrutinizingly. The middle-aged Jiraiya has just accepted Naruto as a disciple, has not yet confirmed that Naruto is the child of destiny. No wonder Nawaki will be fine. Orochimaru said before that Nawaki would be in danger. It turned out that it was all because of you. Yamashiro Shiraishi, I thank you for Nawaki. From now on, You'll be my other younger brother. The words of Shizune and Orochimaru flashed in Tsunade's mind, and after summarizing, he patted his chest and thanked. The middle-aged Tsunade trembled when he heard this, and stared at Shiraishi and Tsunade in surprise. You mean Rope Nawaki is still alive? The middle-aged Tsunade looked at Tsunade in surprise, grabbed her little hand, and asked nervously. The anticipation and apprehension in the eyes make people feel distressed. The situation was tense just now, and Tsunade really didn't say that Nawaki was still alive. Well, we also got a handle on Danzo. Get rid of that BD Danzo when you get back. Nawaki will be fine. Tsunade patted the middle-aged Tsunade's fragrant shoulder comfortingly and said with a bright smile on his face. This made the middle-aged Tsunade's beautiful eyes shine, as if a ray of light entered his heart. The trembling body also stopped. Then from now on, you will be my younger brother too, Yamashiro Shiraishi. The middle-aged Tsunade looked at Shiraishi with surprise, and his mature eyebrows showed infinite charm. Brother, forget it. As I said, I want to date you. Miss Tsunade. Seeing the different double temptation of big and small Tsunade, Shiraishi couldn't help but say hi. Tsunade's grateful pretty face froze, and Sakura Momo's small mouth opened slightly, speechless on the spot. This guy's indeed a little pervert like Jiraiya. The middle-aged Tsunade, who was in a good mood, gave Shiraishi a supercilious look and didn't take it seriously at all. Okay, you brat. How dare you snatch my master Jiraiya's woman? When Jiraiya heard Shiraishi's words, he exploded instantly and wanted to go up and clean up Shiraishi without choosing what to say. But Tsunade next to him couldn't listen anymore. What is robbing his woman? Tsunade punched Jiraiya on the head without hesitation. In an instant, Jiraiya, who took 2 steps, hugged his head and howled. Tsunade, why did you hit me? Jiraiya held her head, turned to look at Tsunade pitifully. Fool, I didn't agree to be your woman. Not now, nor in the future. Tsunade flicked her ponytail arrogantly, clenched her white fists, and said in disdain, This is the youth that people miss. The middle-aged Jiraiya looked at Jiraiya and Tsunade, who were fighting and couldn't help but sigh. Enough, Shiraishi Yamashiro. You haven't answered my question yet. Sarutobi Hiruzen interrupted with a black line on his forehead. Everyone's attention was also drawn back at the same time, and they looked at Shiraishi at the same time. Why? Naturally, as you said, I don't believe you. Shiraishi said calmly and indifferently. Do not trust me? Why? Is Orochimaru, the future traitor, more worthy of your trust? With you like this, can you really see the future? Sarutobi Hiruzen's face was as black as the bottom of a pot, and he asked suspiciously. Other than Orochimaru, the others are also wondering the same. Third Hokage, who is desperately protecting Konoha, is not as reliable as Orochimaru. This is really off the charts. Because I can see the future, I can see farther and in more detail. Third generation, it's not that I don't want to trust you. It's what you've done that makes me unable to trust you. Many of your behaviors make me wonder, if you're really so nice, why would Jiraiya and Tsunade leave the village? How could Konoha, a village full of geniuses, have been reduced to such an incomplete state? The hypocrite is probably talking about you. Also, let me clarify. Although my master is a little wrong, he is not a bad person. On the contrary, Master is one of the heroes who saved the ninja world. In Konoha's 64th year, the scientific leader who returned to Konoha. Moreover, it is the man who will save the ninja world again in the future. Shiraishi didn't give Sarutobi Hiruzen any face and criticized very bluntly. Well, by the way, Master Orochimaru was also lifted. This one now has the confidence to speak so arrogantly. Orochimaru had a faint smile on the corner of his mouth and stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen playfully. Orochimaru, who has the memories of middle-aged Orochimaru, now knows the Konoha darkness better than Shiraishi. The mentality has also changed a bit. Is Orochimaru the hero who saved the ninja world? Will Orochimaru return to Konoha in 3 years? Middle-aged Jiraiya and middle-aged Tsunade are confused at the same time, unable to believe it. When will Konoha agree to kill Hokage's rebel and return to the village? Or a super dangerous S-rank rebel like Orochimaru? Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizen also stared at Shiraishi with different expressions, with a blank look on their faces. Doubts about my behavior? Hypocrite? Yamashiro Shiraishi, what do you mean? I am the third Hokage who was killed by Orochimaru to protect Konoha. Since you can see the future, why don't you trust me? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked loudly with his mind spinning. The deterrence that belonged to Shinobi erupted, making Shiraishi fall into an ice cave in an instant. Seeing this figure, Orochimaru flickered and stopped in front of Shiraishi. The middle-aged Jiraiya and the big and small Tsunade also dodged between them at the same time. Mr. Sarutobi, is this the way you talk? If so, it's time for you to step down as Hokage. Orochimaru stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen with cold snake eyes and said indifferently, with Sarutobi Hiruzen's strength, Orochimaru can't take him down now. But with the help of Jiraiya and Tsunade, it will be different. Orochimaru, are you going to keep me here? And you want to fight me too? Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes changed, and he stared at the three of them imposingly. Then you want to try it? Teacher, Sarutobi. Orochimaru was so excited by Sarutobi Hiruzen. A flash of determination flashed in his eyes, and he said without giving in. The memory of middle-aged Orochimaru still affects the current Orochimaru more or less. Third generation, are you going to make me lose another brother? The middle-aged Tsunade stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said coldly, Old man, it's not good to be so angry. Let me talk about some of your things. It is indeed, as Shiraishi said. I still want to know about Orochimaru returning to the village as a hero. You can't move your hands, the middle-aged Jiraiya said with a serious face, and he also had some complaints about this in his heart. Otherwise, when Konoha's plan collapsed, he wouldn't stand idly by. You all calm down, calm down. Third generation, since you do not admit that you are a hypocrite, then listen what you do before you talk. Seeing the tense scene, Shiraishi shouted hastily. It's not worthwhile to fall out with third generation in the current form. Even if the third generation is killed here, it will be troublesome for Orochimaru to succeed the fourth generation after returning. It is the most beneficial to win over the third generation and let Orochimaru take over the fourth generation smoothly. Shiraishi's running on third generation is not just a mouthful, but to see the true attitude of third generation. If third generation is really a hypocrite with a mouthful of honey sword, he has 800 minds all over his body. He shouldn't be so reckless. Sure enough, the Nabekage Danzo designed by Kishimoto is the one who bears the darkness. Yusei Sarutobi Hiruzen withdrew his momentum with a cold face and exclaimed loudly with staring eyes. What I said, you can find the Ape Demon King, the future Jiraiya, and Tsunade to prove it. Don't call me nonsense. Shiraishi struck first, and the exit left Sarutobi Hiruzen with no excuses. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a little bad when he heard this. The diamond rod in his hand also turned into the Ape Demon King with a bang, staring at this old partner from the past with complicated eyes. Chapter 38, Sarutobi Hiruzen collapsed. Destiny's Child. First question, let me talk about human experiments. It is true that my master will conduct human experiments to develop ninjutsu in the future. But this is not the reason for you to question him. Konoha has been using human experiments to develop ninjutsu since the time of second Hokage, Senju Tobirama. During your third generation administration, the wood-style experiment was shut down after many deaths. But this is only on the surface. Do you know how many innocent people Danzo killed in secret? Could it be that the lives of these people should be swallowed by ambition? In the final analysis, you still consider the interests. In essence, there is no difference. You have nothing to say now. Shiraishi paused intentionally at this point, giving Sarutobi Hiruzen space to counterattack. That's for Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen opened his mouth, but in the end he could only pull out such a high-sounding reason. For Konoha? Coincidentally not. My master developed forbidden technique also for Konoha. It even saved the ninja world in the future. You don't have to doubt it. I'll tell you why later. Shiraishi smiled dismissively and gagged Sarutobi Hiruzen before he could retort. Even so, you can't say that the old man is a hypocrite. Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth and said acquiescingly. His face was full of dissatisfaction. Then, what follows is what you will do in the future. I still have business to say. You and Danzo have too much shit. I will simply say 3 things. In the 48th year of Konoha, the Nine-Tails Night broke out in the village. Back then, the 4th Hokage was desperately defending the village, and you did too. However, clearly having Uchiha's power can weaken Nine-Tails the most. Danzo limits Uchiha's participation in the war on trumped-up charges. The root ninja didn't move at all, preserving his strength. Afterwards, the 4th generation died in battle, and his son became the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Afterwards, you joined forces with Danzo and other high-level Konoha to put pressure on Uchiha and let them move their family to the edge of Konoha. Isn't this thing a little unreasonable? Shiraishi stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen playfully. Middle-aged, Jiraiya's pupils trembled, thinking of his most proud disciple. Nine-Tails riot. 4th Hokage dies. Danzo limit Uchiha. Sarutobi Hiruzen's pupils shrank, and he turned his head to stare at the ape demon king, middle-aged Jiraiya, and middle-aged Tsunade for confirmation. Sarutobi Hiruzen panicked a little after getting the information that they nodded and agreed. How could this be? Whatever the reason, Uchiha should be used to keep Nine-Tails at bay. Shouldn't other things be discussed afterwards? After this incident, due to the death of the 4th generation, the village needs to re-elect the 5th Hokage. Danzo's purpose, that is. But his ambition was shattered by you, and you re-emerged as Hokage. Unwilling, Danzo assassinates you with his roots. After the assassination failed, do you know what you did? You let Danzo go on the grounds that he was useful. Master Hokage, what do you think he's good for? Isn't it useful to bear those darkness for you? Danzo makes a mistake, and you don't deal with it? Others make mistakes, you are impartial. Is this what a fair Hokage-sama should do? Shiraishi looked at the stunned Sarutobi Hiruzen and said loudly. Sarutobi Hiruzen widened his eyes and was speechless for a moment. Indeed, from the ground up he has considered Danzo to be his dark side. Let him bear the darkness for himself. That's why Hokage's authority can be stabilized within a year. Knowing that Danzo used dishonorable means, he still comforted himself with the guardian Would Yi. Unexpectedly, Danzo's ambition to covet Hokage was developed. Orochimaru and the others also stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen unexpectedly. It was the first time they knew that Danzo had assassinated the 3rd generation. After the Nine-Tails incident, Uchiha became separated because of Konoha's exclusion. In a final analysis, this is also a struggle for power. At that time, Uchiha had 2 pairs of Manjiki Sharingan at the same time. In other words, as long as they are genuinely rebellious. Indeed, Konoha can be split, or a coup can succeed. However, this is not without the possibility of peace talks. But what did Danzo do? For their own selfishness, under the guise of peace, he personally ruined the possibility of a peaceful solution to the incident. Later, in the name of protecting the village, Uchiha was forced to kill each other. In the end, the 2 Manjiki Uchiha who guarded the village suffered everything and ruined their family. But Mr. Hokage seems not to be involved, but he is reaping the benefits of the fisherman. Afterwards, Danzo was dismissed from his position and won the final victory of power. After all, it was the Uchiha clan who took it all. How can I trust such Hokage-sama? Another critical strike by Shiraishi made Sarutobi Hiruzen completely stupid. You who are indecisive, bathe in the sunshine propped up by Danzo, has lost persistence in the passage of time. You take a step back and Danzo takes a step forward. Raise Danzo's ambition and darkness step by step. There are so many things like that. Get used to Danzo's methods that don't show up on the stage, and you have lost your ninja spirit. Tsunade and Jiraiya left the village one after another because they saw your injustice and hypocrisy. The next generation of Might Guy and Kakashi, why didn't they grow up? It's because they can't see Konoha's hope in you. All I can say is, you carry the darkness with Danzo. More harm than good. How can you, who is alone in the sun, know the darkness of Danzo? You are Konoha's biggest evil. Even if your heart is not like this, the result is the same. Shiraishi looked up at the pale Sarutobi Hiruzen and delivered a final blow. In an instant, Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were red, and he looked at middle-aged Jiraiya and middle-aged Tsunade in disbelief, wanting to hear a different answer. But the silence of the crowd made Sarutobi Hiruzen completely doubt life. Shiraishi, I wonder what happened to Orochimaru you just said? Also, I am now very sure that you are the child of destiny. Your thoughts and abilities will surely bring peace to the ninja world. Do you want to worship me as a teacher? Middle-aged Jiraiya changed the subject, looked at Shiraishi, and said seriously, Don't say anything about Destiny's child. I still want to live a few more years. Well, that be D lying dead on the ground is the child of destiny you're looking for. You go play with him. Shiraishi quickly waved his hands and refused. He didn't want to be a child of destiny. Without the halo of the protagonist, it would be worse than the other. Naruto? That brat? Middle-aged Jiraiya and Jiraiya looked at the unconscious Naruto suspiciously at the same time. Ahem, that Jiraiya. I still want to advise you. Don't play superstition if you have nothing to do. That toad ball is an old fried dough stick. Don't be led away. Do you know how you died? It is to find the child of destiny and die in the hands of his apprentice. Shiraishi looked at the two Jiraiya circling around Naruto and couldn't help but reminded. You said I would die at the hands of my apprentice. Is it the son of prophecy? The two Jiraiya exclaimed at the same time, staring at Shiraishi nervously with different expressions. I'll talk about that next. Now let's talk about our purpose and about Mr. Orochimaru. Well, anyway, our purpose is very simple. To protect the peace of the ninja world. Shiraishi didn't answer directly, but answered something that wasn't asked. Guard the peace of the ninja world? At this moment, everyone except Orochimaru doubted loudly at the same time. Just Orochimaru? Protect the peace of the ninja world? Can people believe this? Chapter 39 Nagato cried, being sold clearly a him. It all started with a woman named Kagaya. Under everyone's strange eyes, Shiraishi cleared his throat and started from the beginning. This time, he temporarily eliminated information about the Tsutsuki clan. Since the advent of Kagaya, the era of the Son of Heaven, the era of Kagaya, and the era of Sage of Six Paths, Nine-Tailed Beast relationship with Ten Tails, the conspiracy of Black Zetsu, the love-hate relationship between Indra and Ashura, Sengoku era, Pillar Madara era, Konoha establishment, Uchimadara feigned death, waiting to open Rinnegan, etc. You mean to say that Uchiha Madara is still alive in our time? Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but interrupted after hearing this. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and his back was icy cold. He had experienced the horrors of Uchiha Madara in his youth. That is simply not a height that ordinary people can reach. The two Jiraiya, big and small Tsunade, also looked at Shiraishi with disbelief. Yes, Uchiha Madara is alive. And the Rinnegan is most likely turned on now. Shiraishi looked solemn, looked at everyone, and said seriously, Next, it's time to recruit them. Rinnegan. Everyone shrank their pupils at the same time, staring at Shiraishi with nervous breathing. Only Orochimaru and the middle-aged Jiraiya have different complexions. Wait a moment, you said earlier that Ashura is united with the power of Indra to open the Rinnegan. But why am I seeing another pair of Rinnegans? The puzzled middle-aged Jiraiya asked. That's what I'm going to say now. Unlock the Uchiha Madara in Rinnegan, as the boss cannot directly collect the tailed beasts. Forced to choose, put it to death and survive. Jiraiya, you mean Nagato's Rinnegan. Shiraishi looked at the middle-aged Jiraiya firmly and said. Middle-aged Jiraiya shrank her pupils and stared at Shiraishi in surprise. He knows all this? Nagato's Rinnegan, Uchiha Madara's Rinnegan. Rinnegan had only ever had one pair. Nagato is the chess piece chosen by Uchiha Madara to resurrect himself. In Rinnegan, there is a resurrected person's forbidden technique. As soon as Shiraishi said this, everyone present gasped again, except for Orochimaru and Shiraishi. Well, there's also the comatose Naruto. You mean Uchiha Madara is to be resurrected through Nagato, then start collecting tail beasts and become 10 Tails Jinchuriki, unleash the so-called infinite Tsukuyami and resurrect Kagaya? The middle-aged Jiraiya thought of the information Shiraishi said before and came to confirm it instantly. Things are a little different, but Uchiha Madara's plan is right. The Akatsuki organization is the tool planned by Uchiha Madara's pawns. It's just that Nagato, the leader of the Akatsuki organization, doesn't know the real purpose of collecting tailed beasts. Jiraiya, after 3 years you will be alone in Range Shinobi Village, the home of the Akatsuki organization. There you'll see Nagato's 6 golems, Pain's 6 paths. You who do not know the information will eventually die in Range Shinobi Village for the information. So now, do you want me to directly tell you the information about the Akatsuki organization? After a brief explanation, Shiraishi stared narrowly at Jiraiya and said, Shiraishi, our time is limited. The intelligence of the Akatsuki organization is useless to our world. This world, that Orochimaru will tell Jiraiya and Tsunade them. Let's get straight to the point. Orochimaru spoke suddenly, choking on what Shiraishi was about to say. Is that so? Then I'll just talk about Rinnegan's abilities. None of you know this. Shiraishi gave Orochimaru a meaningful look before changing the subject. Rinnegan's ability? Including Orochimaru. Everyone was short of breath and said in anticipation. The eyes of Sage of 6 Paths. Who wouldn't want to see it? Rinnegan has many abilities, so I'll use Nagato's distribution method to explain it. Rinnegan's ability was distributed to 6 puppets by Nagato, also known as Pin's 6 Paths. They are called Heaven, Shura, Human, Animal, Hungry Kid, and Hell. Tiandao Pain. It was made by Nagato in honor of his friend Yahiko, using his corpse. He is the leader of Shao organization in the eyes of everyone. When Shiraishi said this, he saw that the middle-aged Jiraiya wanted to interrupt him and immediately forced him to stop with his eyes. Go on. Tiandao Pain has 3 abilities, Shenluo Tianzheng and Universal Pull, which can control repulsion. And the strongest sealing technique, 6 Paths, Planetary Devastation. The Shinra Sky sign that exploded from the Heavenly Tao can destroy Konoha in an instant. Don't doubt it. This is the reality realized in Konoha 3 years later. After 3 years, destroy Konoha. Everyone except Orochimaru exclaimed in amazement. That's right, but don't worry too much. Those of you who know the information now have the possibility to change the future. Take a step back, and Naruto will wipe your A. As an aside, Pin's 6 Paths attacks Konoha. In addition to capturing 9 Tails, Nagato wants revenge on Konoha. Because his parents were killed by Konoha shinobi in World War II, and his companion was killed by Hanzo and Danzo. In this attack, Danzo still chose to preserve his strength. After 5th generation Tsunade is exhausted and unconscious, he jumps out and grabs the position of 6th Hokage. This guy is really unstoppable for the position of Hokage. Shiraishi looked at the stunned crowd, smiled, and gave Danzo some eye drops. Danzo, this BD, go back and kill him. Sarutobi Hiruzen, middle-aged Jiraiya, and middle-aged Tsunade gritted their teeth and shouted almost simultaneously. This is up to you. But as a reminder, in the future Danzo has 1 Mangeki and 10-3 Tomo Sharingan, as well as the wood-style ability of Hashirama Cells. It's a tough guy. Shiraishi made up the knife again calmly, making everyone's pupils shrink in fear. Unbelievable. Especially Sarutobi Hiruzen. Danzo unexpectedly gathered the strength of Senju and Uchiha. This guy, that's the end of the gossip. Heavenly Pain's Planetary Devastation is the sealing technique used by Sage of 6 Paths to seal 10 Tails. This is a super terrifying sealing technique. But any technique has its weaknesses. Both Shenluo Tianzheng and Universal Pull have a 5-second gap. And Planetary Devastation, as long as the black ball is broken when it is activated, it can be stopped. When Shiraishi said this, Everyone's mood was obviously relieved a lot. And Orochimaru also understood what kind of power the middle-aged Orochimaru used to snatch Rinnegan and was knocked away. Sura Dao Pain. It is a puppet master composed of various agencies. Not only is the power comparable to strange power, but also there are various weapons hidden in the body, so be careful when encountering them. Human Dao Pain. The ability is to extract souls and read minds. Beast Dao Pain. You can summon multiple summoning beasts to fight together, and you can summon the other 5 pain. By the way, all Rinnegans share the same sight. So whether it is Pen's 6 paths or summoning beast, as long as a pair of Rinnegan is staring at it, it will be seen by Nagato. Hungry Kid Pain. Possesses the ability of chakra to suck food and seal spells. Chakra sucks can absorb any ninjutsu attack and transform it into chakra itself. This can be cracked with Shinju chakra and turned into stone after being absorbed by the opponent. Sealing Technique Suction Seal. This is actually a kind of ninjutsu sealing technique which can seal all ninjutsu attacks, including immortal techniques. Hell Road Pain. This is the most important clone of Pain in 6 paths. Not only can a murder be judged by lying, but the other 5 Pain can also be revived. Against 6 Paths Pen, Hellway is the first Pen clone to kill. But Pain 6 Paths is still a puppet clone after all. As long as the yin and yang escape black sticks on their bodies are pulled out, they can be turned into corpses. That was their receiver for the chakra, controlled by Nagato. But be careful of the attack of the yin, yang, Dunhei stick. It has a strong disturbing effect on Jinchuriki and Ninja Chakra. Finally, there is the Rinnegan power possessed by Nagato itself. Summons the 10 Tails Golem, the husk of the 10 Tails. And the forbidden technique, Rinne Tensei technique that resurrects the dead. Among them, the 10 Tails Golem, even without the 9-tailed beast chakra, is still a terrifying existence. Still have to be careful. Well, that's all about Nagato's information. Shiraishi let out a breath and couldn't help laughing at the stunned look of all the members. Orochimaru only knew about the general resume of the future, but he didn't know anything about the strength and intelligence. After Orochimaru's memory in middle age, Orochimaru understands the horror of Rinnegan even more. Chapter 40 Perfect Reincarnation. The existence of Uchiha Madara. This power is really Rinnegan's ability is so powerful. That Nagato guy. Is this the power of Sage of 6 Paths? The eyes of the crowd were confused and flustered, and they spoke uncertainly, with a look of fear on their faces. Orochimaru's eyes burst out with hotness and excitement, as well as strong fear, and his body couldn't help shaking. He knew that there was an even more terrifying Tsutsuki clan behind him. Is this dull? In Nagato's hands, Rinnegan's power is only average. Uchiha Madara resurrected in the 4th battle. Rinnegan is even more terrifying in his hands. Not to mention anything else, a single invisible shadow attack. It can instantly kill almost all opponents. Even the 9-tailed beast could not last for a while in his hands, become the 6 Paths Madara of 10 Tails Jinchuriki, and become a sage of 6 paths-like existence. Possesses Truth-Seeking Ball, the ultimate embodiment of Yin-Yang Dun that nullifies all ninjutsu. 6 Paths Madara with this power, in addition to physical and celestial arts. All ninjutsu will not work on it. The Might Guy at the time cast 8 Inner Gates formation at the cost of his life. It just made 6 Paths Madara lose half of his body. That is a physical technique beyond the limits of the ninja world, enough to instantly kill Gaku's attack. But the resilience of 6 Paths Madara, which is almost reborn from a drop of blood, is really desperate. If it weren't for Sage of 6 Paths to end in person, give Sasuke and Naruto a cheat. It is to give them the power of 6 Paths, Yin and Yang. It wasn't that Black Zetsu attacked 6 Paths Madara and resurrected Kaguya. The ninja world was completely rewritten by 6 Paths Madara. In my master, it was in that battle that Impure World Reincarnation brought all generations of Hokage into battle and played a decisive role in winning the final victory. At the same time, he actively participated in the treatment of fifth-generation Tsunade, allowing Tsunade to survive smoothly. Without impure world reincarnation and living corpse reincarnation, my master would not be able to do this. The ninja world will also be ruled by Kagaya, and everyone will be turned into nourishment to nourish the Ten Tails sacred tree. Third generation. Do you think my master's research is for peace in the ninja world? For this merit, Master was pardoned by fifth-generation Tsunade and returned to Konoha. Shiraishi resolutely struck again when everyone's three views of consciousness were in chaos. In an instant, everyone was dumbfounded again. That frightening picture popped up in everyone's mind. But at the same time, they each have a lot of doubts. Yamashiro Shiraishi, I disagree with your statement. Even if Orochimaru contributed to that fight, but impure world reincarnation and living corpse reincarnation, or the evil forbidden technique of human sacrifice, how could this be for peace in the ninja world? Could it be that the future Orochimaru will no longer be reincarnated, willing to die of old age? Sarutobi Hiruzen was the first to attack, and the dead duckmouth insisted. This question also made the middle-aged Jiraiya nod in agreement, agreeing with this point of view. Of course, my master will not give up reincarnation. He still needs to continue researching for Konoha's future. Shiraishi naturally refused, making Sarutobi Hiruzen smile instantly. In this way, Orochimaru does not have the height that Shiraishi said. Seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression, Shiraishi curled up into a smile and started to strike again. However, Master, he will not continue to reincarnate others. In the Fourth Ninja World War, Master found a nearly perfect reincarnation. Humanoid weapon made by Kagaya White Zetsu. Also the 100,000 White Zetsu army initiated by Uchiha Bido. White Zetsu, with its Hashirama cells, is arguably the best vessel for living corpse reincarnation. Not only is there no discomfort, but it also allows the reincarnation to have the physical activity of White Zetsu, increasing strength and longevity. In other words, White Zetsu plus living corpse reincarnation, perfect reincarnation. Few cons except one. Third generation, such a harmless longevity, forbidden technique. Would you like a reincarnation package? Shiraishi looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who opened his mouth wide again and joked with a smile. Shiraishi, why didn't you tell me such an important thing? Where are the White Zetsu now? I want to catch a few and bring them back to study. Before Sarutobi Hiruzen could speak, Orochimaru shouted excitedly. Isn't that temporarily unavailable? Master, don't worry. The current White Zetsu is still sleeping. I don't know where they are either. Let's go back and talk about it in detail. Shiraishi gave Orochimaru a connotative look helplessly and smiled sarcastically. What White Zetsu? The power of Tsutsuki, isn't it fragrant? It's putting the cart before the horse. What did you say was the weakness of the White Zetsu container? The middle-aged Jiraiya straightened his face and then asked. A battle of ninjas is a battle of intelligence. If you know this weakness, maybe it will be useful in the future. Nothing? Just no gender. Colloquially, neither male nor female or hermaphrodite. Shiraishi didn't hide anything and confessed directly. This one? In an instant, everyone was dumbfounded. After one breath, Hori looked at Orochimaru with a strange look. Orochimaru's face was also uncertain, with a very strange expression. Before Shiraishi said that he will be both a father and a mother in the future, raising two children. He always thought it was a hard word. Unexpectedly, he really became both a father and a mother. It has no gender at all. This kind of thing is a bit difficult for Orochimaru to accept now. Yamashiro Shiraishi, so what is your purpose? Guard the ninja world? After Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath, he returned to the topic and asked anxiously. That's right, just to protect the ninja world. We cannot place our hope in the reincarnation of Indra and Ashura. As mentioned earlier, Ten Tails Jinchuriki cannot be harmed by ordinary ninjutsu. Only Xianshu and Taijutsu can do it. The power of the curse seal is also immortal in nature, and it can also cause damage to Ten Tails Jinchuriki. So we intend to get your support from the third generation and start researching the spell seal in advance. Get ready for the next battle. Although Master's current strength has grown by leaps and bounds, our goal remains the same. It is still necessary to continue to improve the curse seal, even if the power of the increase is small. Also change the nature of ninjutsu, so that all Konoha shinobi have the ability to strike 10 tails jinchuriki. Win the final victory. Well, that's what happened. Shiraishi nodded seriously, stating the premise of his plan with Orochimaru. I have a doubt. Now that you guys know about Uchihamadara's plan, he is old again in Konoha 32 years. Why not kill him in advance to avoid future troubles? Basically eliminate the possibility of 10 tails jinchuriki appearing, and it is impossible for Kagaya to be resurrected. After the middle-aged Jiraiya quickly stabilized his mind, he stared at Shiraishi and asked. Others also brightened their eyes, waiting for Shiraishi's answer. Shiraishi smiled helplessly when he heard the words. If it was so simple, would he still be in such trouble? Find some offerings to make Orochimaru filthy earth 5 Kages of all dynasties. No matter how can raise Uchihamadara. His goal is to steal the power of Tsutsuki. We haven't thought about this. First, who can kill the old Uchihamadara now? Not to mention Rinnegan, just that Madara itself incorporates the power of wood style. To put it bluntly, the current elderly Madara is at least as strong as Chowing. It's too hard to kill him. Second, even if you try your best to kill him, Konoha, who lost a lot, will be eaten by other villages. Now that World War II has begun, the other villages are not going to cooperate to kill Uchihamadara. Third, even if it is to gather the power of all ninja villages, kill Uchihamadara. But Black Zetsu will continue to be a demon in the dark and will scare the snake. Let our intelligence superiority become useless garbage. Fourth, we can't find his hiding place. Fifth, Madara and Kagaya are not the end of the ninja dispute, but the beginning. Kagaya's family, the Tsutsuki clan. They will continuously send people to the ninja world to harvest chakra and replant the sacred tree. Our real opponent is the enemy behind. Shiraishi pulled out a bunch of excuses to block their doubts and showed the final king bomb. Tsutsuki clan, Chapter 41, Reaching an Agreement. When teaching is in progress, the Tsutsuki clan, the eyes of the others froze at the same time, staring at Shiraishi breathlessly. That is an unimaginable extraterrestrial family. In the future, many years after the victory of the 4 wars, the Tsutsuki tribe entered the ninja world one after another. At that time, Naruto and Sasuke, the strongest ninjas in the ninja world, were worthy of confronting them and almost died. But there is still a steady stream of Tsutsuki enemies behind, so we're still on our own. Rely on Master's scientific research and seals to save the future. Shiraishi stared at everyone seriously and said simply, the people who thought they were horrified were once again numb by this terrifying future. That's the way it is. The purpose of Shiraishi and I is to lead Konoha to protect the ninja world. Uchihamadara's white Zetsu clones are all over the ninja world, and no one knows where they are. So in talking about these things, find a safe place. Jiraiya, Tsunade, time travel is very unstable this time. You take advantage of the present to learn your future experience and ninjutsu. Don't get too far behind me. Otherwise, the name of Sannin in the future will cease to exist. Orochimaru took Shiraishi's words and said seriously to several people, Sannin, what is this title? Jiraiya scratched his head and shouted again in doubt. But I still have a lot of unanswered questions. The middle-aged Jiraiya ignored the young man himself and spoke urgently to Orochimaru. Those questions you then ask the Orochimaru of this world. He knows all these things. Sarutobi teacher, I want you to give me the roots. Secretly set up a curse seal research base. At the same time, give me the right to enter and exit the village freely so that I can move freely. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and said perfunctorily to General Sarutobi Hiruzen, isn't that what their purpose is? Can, but you have to promise me 3 conditions. Sarutobi Hiruzen agreed without thinking. In any case, studying the curse seal is good for Konoha. You say Orochimaru was not pretentious and asked third generation to say the conditions. First, do not experiment with Konoha shinobi and civilians. Second, the research base is open to me and must not be concealed. Third, all major decisions require my approval. After the Danzo incident, Sarutobi Hiruzen came up with 3 decisions to limit Orochimaru. I agree. Orochimaru quickly analyzed the pros and cons in his mind and replied in a deep voice. These 3 conditions are not restrictive to him. Sarutobi Hiruzen will not have the capital to speak when he really studies Tsutsuki. Then let's out. Jiraiya. Orochimaru turned to middle-aged Jiraiya after making a deal with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Okay, I'll find out about those things from Orochimaru. Toad ladle solution. The middle-aged Jiraiya reluctantly agreed, and the knot seal untied the enchantment. Between breaths, everyone returned to the outside world. I still have things to do. Shiraishi, you stay here with them. After Orochimaru came out, he gave a hasty instruction and left immediately. A strange color flashed in Shiraishi's eyes, and it was fleeting. What is this guy going to do? Always so mysterious. Looking at Orochimaru's disappearing back, the 2 Jiraiya spoke in different voices. Ape Demon, I want to talk to you. Sarutobi Hiruzen then turned his head to the Ape Demon King and said deeply he wanted to know something about these years, especially Danzo. The Monkey King nodded and followed Sarutobi Hiruzen to the side. I can pass on the forbidden technique, Baihao technique, and ninja art. Mitotic regeneration that I developed to you, but you have to promise me one condition. The middle-aged Tsunade turned his head to face Tsunade, and 2 figures flashed in his mind and said seriously. You say Tsunade's beautiful eyes narrowed when she heard the words, and she raised her smiling face and said pretty without thinking. Originally, she was only interested in the ninjutsu that looked not old, but she didn't expect there to be other forbidden techniques. Protect Nawaki. I hope he grows up. The middle-aged Tsunade looked at Tsunade with bright eyes and was taken aback for a moment before changing his words. Perhaps the love affair she experienced may not be suitable for Tsunade from another world. In a different world, Tsunade should also have his own happiness. Definitely. Nawaki is my beloved younger brother. No, it's our brother. Tsunade was delighted when he heard the words and said generously with a bright smile. The middle-aged Tsunade frowned slightly, and a long-lost smile appeared on his face. If Nawaki from another world grows up safely, that's also a continuation. Now it's just us. I can't be left behind by Orochimaru and Tsunade too much. Future me, pass on my trick to me. Looking at the big and small Tsunade walking hand in hand to the other side, Jiraiya shouted excitedly to the middle-aged Jiraiya. A trick? Then I have only one Rasengan to impart to you. The rest is just ninjutsu experience, nothing else. Middle-aged Jiraiya scratched her head and said embarrassedly, What the hell, you are still so poor? Only developed one Rasengan trick? What about Sage Mode? Do you have a trick for me? Jiraiya pursed her lips in displeasure and asked, eyes full of disgust. The trick to practicing Sage Mode? No, let me correct. Rasengan is not a ninjutsu developed by me. It is Muji ninjutsu developed by my disciples. The middle-aged Jiraiya was embarrassed, but still explained cheekily. Tsunade and the others know about this matter, and they can't use it to brag at all. No trick? Learn the ninjutsu developed by your disciples? Will you, Jiraiya? Shameless. What have you been doing all these years? Don't tell me you only study these things. Jiraiya threw out the little red book just now angrily and cursed. Such Jiraiya, compared to Orochimaru and Tsunade, makes him very embarrassed. Whispering sound if you love learning or not. I am lazy to care about you. If I have time, can I collect materials? Anyway, it's your embarrassment to go back. Not me. The middle-aged Jiraiya was despised by himself and suddenly broke the jar and said, Jiraiya was instantly shocked by the brazenness of her middle-aged self. Is this wretched uncle really his future self? Ahem. In fact, there is still a trick to practicing Sage Mode. Shiraishi looked at the pair of live treasures and couldn't help but speak. What's the trick? I do not know how. The two Jiraiya looked at Shiraishi at the same time and exclaimed in surprise. Use Shadow Clone for accelerated stacking training. At the same time, you can also use Shadow Clone to condense natural energy to refine the magic chakra and quickly enter Sage Mode. Jiraiya. This is Naruto's trick to practice Sage Mode. Using this method, he learned Sage Mode in less than a month. Still a more perfect Sage Mode than you. Shiraishi didn't hesitate to give the two accelerator cheats. The growth of Jiraiya's power is equal to the growth of his power. Shiraishi is not resting on his laurels. Shadow Clone? So, less than a month. I have practiced for more than 10 years before. Both Jiraiya exclaimed at the same time, looking at the unconscious Naruto in unison. Okay, then I will teach you Rasengan first. The key to Rasengan is, the middle-aged Jiraiya in a good mood waved his hand and began to tell Jiraiya the main points of practicing Rasengan. Jiraiya's mouth is very disgusting, but her body is very honest and quickly absorbs it. Shiraishi knew about Rasengan already and looked at Prince Naruto as soon as he turned his eyes. It was a pity not to take something back after traveling through time, or abduct Ashura's reincarnation back to World War II. Chapter 42, The Cheating Nine Tails. Returning to World War II. Go. Bring this news to Orochimaru. Orochimaru took a small scroll and stuffed it into the little white snake's mouth and ordered. Inside is the intelligence of the perfect container of white Zetsu. The little white snake looked at Orochimaru in front of him strangely, slipped into the grass, and quickly slipped away. After Orochimaru had done all this, Burst headed for Konoha at full speed. Shiraishi said that the reincarnations of Indra and Ashura in this generation are Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto. Orochimaru, who devours the memories of middle-aged Orochimaru, already knows who Uchiha Sasuke is. At the moment when Shiraishi erupted with the power of the spell seal, Orochimaru quickly took a little flesh and blood from Naruto when everyone looked away. The next target, of course, is Uchiha Sasuke. Under Orochimaru's desperate dash, he finally sneaked into Konoha shortly after nightfall. Although the layout has changed a lot, many key buildings remain unchanged. The staying time is unknown. I have to hurry up. After the disguise, Orochimaru walked on the street of Konoha, looking at the familiar Konoha, and said softly. After several times of illusion torture, Orochimaru soon knew Sasuke's current location. Konoha Hospital. Uchiha Sasuke, who was severely injured by Tsukuyami, was lying in a hospital bed and fell into a deep sleep. The guards of Konoha Hospital are completely useless in front of Orochimaru. Orochimaru found the unconscious Sasuke easily. Without any effort, Orochimaru got Sasuke's flesh easily. Just when Orochimaru was about to leave, he suddenly stopped and looked at Sasuke's neck. The Tsutsuki moving noble phantasm that Shiraishi refers to as traveling through time under the control of Uchiha Sasuke. So a strange color flashed in Orochimaru's pupils, and he took 2 steps forward and placed one hand on Sasuke's seal of the heavenly curse. According to the method and memory, Orochimaru instilled his own consciousness in the cursed seal, lurking in the deepest part of the cursed seal. Just when Orochimaru was about to leave, a white light suddenly appeared from his body. Are you going back? Orochimaru lowered his head and murmured in surprise. The figure disappeared after a few seconds. At the same time, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Shiraishi are also bathed in white light. Are you leaving? Shiraishi murmured while looking down at the shining white light on his body. He swooped and grabbed Naruto, who had just woken up. Damn! Pervy Sage, a ghost is after me. As soon as Naruto opened his eyes, he saw Shiraishi rushing forward. His face turned pale instantly, and he screamed in fright. But middle-aged Jiraiya and middle-aged Tsunade are urgently teaching ninjutsu at the side, and Shizen also ran to listen in, so they can't take care of Naruto. Hey, don't panic. Brother will take you to a fun place. Shiraishi grabbed Naruto with both hands and grinned as he watched the white light spread from his body to Naruto. Damn, what are you doing? Me, I became a ghost too. Naruto looked pale and trembling when he saw the white light emerging from himself. You're the ghost, idiot. Shiraishi cursed with a black face and waited quietly for the arrival of time travel. By the time of World War II, Naruto was pulled into the Orochimaru team. That's not enough to fly. Just when Shiraishi was about to take Naruto across, a scarlet chakra tail suddenly emerged from Naruto's body. With the momentum of thunder and jingle, the two people were separated quickly. Nine Tails, I'm FGU. Seeing that the white light on Naruto disappeared instantly, Shiraishi couldn't help but cursed. At this moment, the mighty power that travels through time and space descends. Shiraishi carried half a chakra tail and disappeared in front of the stunned Naruto in an instant. At the same time, three white lights of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Jiraiya, and Tsunade are also shining around. Also, it's not a ghost. Pervy Sage, there are so many ghosts here. Naruto cried and trembled and rushed towards the middle-aged Jiraiya. Middle-aged Jiraiya looked at the silly Naruto, speechless for a while. This idiot is the future savior. Child of destiny? What? Took a little chakra away. Nine Tails felt the missing tail beast chakra and said suspiciously in the sealed space. But that little chakra, Nine Tails doesn't care at all. Quickly forgotten by Nine Tails. Just now, Nine Tails only felt Naruto's fright, so he broke the link between the two. Inin village Orochimaru sat on a chair and looked at the candlelight in front of him. His orange snake pupils were erratic. Tsutsuki clan, Tsutsuki Kagaya, Black Zetsu, Achihara, Achihabito Nagato. Is this the truth of the ninja world? Me in the past. How on earth did you know this? Build alliances across time and space. As expected of me. Orochimaru stared at the void. His heart fluctuated. Youth Orochimaru, and did not reveal anything about Shiraishi to him. Master Orochimaru, do you continue to wait for Sasuke, or use another container? After this reincarnation, failure, and resurrection, your body is on the verge of collapse. Yakushi Kabuto suddenly walked in from the door and said respectfully, No, I have better options. Sasuke will be my disciple in the future. Don't even think about reincarnating Sasuke. Looking at the bright candlelight, Orochimaru thought of the information delivered by the little white snake before. His eyes burst into a fiery light and said, Yakushi Kabuto froze and looked at Orochimaru suspiciously. A better option? Who is it? Yakushi Kabuto asked curiously as the strange color flickered under the lens. Doe, help me contact the Shao organization. I'm going to make a deal with them. Orochimaru answered irrelevant questions, his eyes bursting with fire and excitement. White Zetsu clone, he is bound to win. Shao organization? Okay, Lord Orochimaru. Yakushi Kabuto glanced at Orochimaru in surprise and stumbled. Konoha 32 years Kingdom of Wind. Ancient Kingdom of Lulon Place of the Altar 5 white lights suddenly appeared and then disappeared. At the empty altar, Shiraishi and the Sarutobi team appeared at the same time. On Shiraishi's body, a red chakra enveloped his body. Tail beast chakra? Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen exclaimed when they saw this scene. Shiraishi, why do you have the tailed beast chakra? Is there a sense of erosion of the will or body? Orochimaru looked at Shiraishi and asked nervously. With a right hand move, the preparation for the 5-element seal was completed. A what? Accident. There's nothing wrong with that either. Originally wanted to bring Naruto to play, but Nine Tails disagreed. That's all. Feeling the explosive chakra in his body, Shiraishi rubbed his head in embarrassment. Orochimaru's eyes froze when he heard the words, and his expression was strange. He just wanted to bring some flesh and blood of Naruto and Sasuke back to study. Shiraishi actually wanted to abduct and Ashura reincarnation directly. This disciple has a very bold idea. His pattern is still small. Why didn't he think of bringing Uchiha Sasuke here? Then let me help you seal this chakra. Orochimaru came to Shiraishi in a few steps and said that he was about to seal Nine Tails chakra. No, I feel like I can control it. Feeling the flow of chakra in his body, Shiraishi stopped with a sound. The will of the tailed beast contained in the tailed beast chakra is, in the final analysis, mental damage. As for body erosion, the tailed beast chakra can't do it at all. Shiraishi, who is immune to psychic attacks, is not affected at all. Under the astonished eyes of several people, the tailed beast chakra on Shiraishi's body slowly faded and flowed into the cursed seal of the sky. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly thought of something. His expression was happy, and he disappeared quickly. Mito-sama, the current Nine Tails Jinchuriki, is almost out of balance. Uzumaki Kushina would have been the best choice. But through the ape demon, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that Kushina was attacked due to childbirth, which led to the Nine Tails Rebellion in Konoha. This is a bit troublesome. Could it be that Yamashiro Shiraishi has the potential to become Nine Tails Jinchuriki? Chapter 43, Parallel World Theory. Orochimaru is going crazy. Haha, I didn't expect this thing to travel through time and space. I already know the tricks of Rasengan and Sage Mode, and soon I will be Rishi Jiraiya. Seeing that Shiraishi was fine, Jiraiya looked at the altar with fiery eyes and shouted excitedly. What's Sage Jiraiya? Wait for this lady to complete the practice of Baihao technique and ninja art, mitotic regeneration, and you will become a pig-headed Jiraiya. Tsunade saw Jiraiya being so arrogant, couldn't help but waved his fists and said arrogantly. On the originally smooth and flawless forehead, a diamond-shaped imprint was imprinted on it. It is the embodiment of 100 Healings Mark's technique. Keep your voice down, both of you. This altar is too dangerous. I'm going to seal this altar now. Sarutobi Hiruzen withdrew his eyes and stared at the altar solemnly and reprimanded. No, I also want to take Nawaki to meet her in the future. If it is sealed, it cannot be used. Tsunade raised her beautiful eyes when she heard the words, and stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a straight face and refused directly. Although the middle-aged Tsunade didn't say anything, Tsunade has captured her desire for family affection. Tsunade, don't get emotional. If this secret is known to Sand Shinobi, Konoha will be in danger. Sarutobi Hiruzen refused without thinking. The power to travel through time and space is too dangerous, especially since this altar is in the Kingdom of Wind. Tsunade naturally disagreed, and the two confronted each other instantly. Well, let me say a few words. Shiraishi watched as Orochimaru was about to speak, and hurriedly spoke first. In an instant, for eyes looked at Shiraishi at the same time. First of all, I want to explain that the destination of this dragon vein crossing is uncertain and unknown. In other words, the chances of retraversing Konoha's 61 years are slim. Moreover, the ability to traverse dragon veins is not certain. The next time it is opened is the energy state, and it will not allow people to pass through. If you don't have strong strength to absorb or escape, you will be blown up by the power of the dragon veins. Therefore, I think it is better to seal it. Shiraishi looked at the few people without showing any timidity and said seriously. The dragon's veins broke out for the first time in the original plot, allowing Naruto and the others to travel through time and space. But the second eruption is just an energy state, so this time travel is very confusing and unknown. Shiraishi of Break, through Orochimaru, doesn't want to venture across again. It would be funny if it was blown up by the power of the dragon vein. I can't go through. An imperceptible surprise flashed in Orochimaru's eyes, and he blurted out. If he can't go back to the future, then the alliance he established with himself in the future will become a joke. This result was unexpected by Orochimaru. He also intends to use the resources of both worlds to expedite the research of Tsutsuki's power. You mean it no longer has the ability to travel? After Tsunade was stunned for a moment, he opened Sakura Momo's mouth and said, "Maybe, but if you still want to try, don't take me with you. I'm afraid of death." Shiraishi shrugged and said very cowardly words in a very teasing tone. He now has Kage-level Orochimaru and the cursed seal, and Orochimaru has also made a deal with third generation. The future is so promising. There's no need to take risks. Then seal it temporarily and talk about it when you go back. Orochimaru, Yamashiro Shiraishi, I still have something to ask you. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Orochimaru master and apprentice with a fixed look and decided. Orochimaru quickly stabilized his mind, glanced at Shiraishi without leaving a trace, and said absently. He also needs to talk to Shiraishi to see if there are other ways to travel through time and space. Tsunade and Jiraiya looked at each other and didn't continue to stop the seal. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood in the center of the altar, exhausting all he had learned in his life, and began to arrange the sealing technique. Shiraishi, Tsunade, and Jiraiya couldn't understand those things at all. On the contrary, Orochimaru was amazed and benefited a lot. Seal up about half an hour later. Sarutobi Hiruzen finished the seal with both hands and shouted in a deep voice. In an instant, black sealing spells spread all over the altar, shining a ray of fluorescence and disappearing in an instant. Retreat. After finishing these, Sarutobi Hiruzen turned around and left with a low drink, like a ruthless scumbag with a gun drawn. Shiraishi and the others immediately followed. Without the slightest surprise, everyone quickly left the Lulon Kingdom and headed towards the Land of Fire. Under the leadership of 2 Kage-level and 2 elite Genin, the journey is naturally smooth. The next day, at noon, Shiraishi and his party finally returned to Konoha in a hurry. Oops, I cannot make it, I'm so sleepy, I'm going home to sleep. As soon as Jiraiya entered the Konoha gate, she yawned lazily, turned around and left. Then I'm going home too. Let me take my leave, everyone. Tsunade, who was also sleepy, shouted immediately and ran towards Senju's house. Never mind, you guys go back to rest first. Come and find me together tomorrow. Sarutobi Hiruzen was also tired at this time, thought for a while, and whispered to the two of them. Yes. Orochimaru and Shiraishi replied at the same time, turned and left separately. During this time, they didn't have any rest time at all. After the two left, Sarutobi Hiruzen turned and walked towards the Umbu building. Assassinate Nawaki's root ninja, who is yet to deal with. The other side, Shiraishi was about to rush home to sleep when a small white snake suddenly appeared in front of him. Shiraishi, come to my house. The little white snake looked at Shiraishi, opened its mouth, and let out Orochimaru's voice. What a hassle. I'm also very tired. Shiraishi complained as he watched the white snake slip away quickly and turned to Orochimaru's house. A few minutes later, Shiraishi stepped into the Orochimaru mansion again. Master, what can't wait until tomorrow to talk about it? I also want to go home, sleep, and rest. Shiraishi was rude when he saw Orochimaru, sat down, and complained carelessly. Shiraishi, I have something important to ask you. Orochimaru said seriously, and once again arranged a barrier with both hands. Tell me, seeing that Orochimaru had set up the barrier with a serious attitude, Shiraishi couldn't help but be correct. Shiraishi, is it true that the dragon veins can't cross Konoha again for 61 years? Orochimaru hurriedly asked the question he was most concerned about. Didn't I say that? Through the unknown, the time is unknown. I'm not lying. Shiraishi looked at Orochimaru weakly and complained. A look of disappointment flashed in Orochimaru's eyes, and his mood became a little depressed. So this time travel through time and space. Why is there a situation in a different world? What exactly do you mean by the parallel world you mentioned earlier? Orochimaru changed the subject and asked the biggest doubt in his heart. Shiraishi's head exploded when he heard this question. Why do these scientists like these brain-burning questions? Why are there different worlds? You ask me who I ask. The so-called parallel world. It is a world that should be exactly the same, interrupted or changed by something, and then evolve into a similar but independent world. Simply put, this world has my arrival, so the future will definitely change. No longer limited to the originally designed future. And Konoha 61, which we traveled through before, was originally an established world. But our crossing destroyed their established trajectory and went to an unknown direction. Our two worlds, compared to that established world, are two branch worlds. This is the parallel world. Shiraishi explained simply, thinking of those esoteric parallel world theories. Orochimaru's eyes lit up, and then he thought of a huge change in his face. If this statement, our two worlds are no longer the same as the original world, then I probably guessed why the treasure you mentioned didn't cross over. You said before that it is a noble phantasm for moving time, not a noble phantasm for moving time and space. But it's not right either. According to what you said, we now have the idea that the noble phantasm of this independent world should move time back. Why didn't it come? Also, that dragon vein can travel through parallel worlds instead of this world? What exactly is going on? Orochimaru asked himself with a pale face and answered, the whole person is not well. Shiraishi looked at Orochimaru, who was a little crazy, and the corners of his eyes twitched. Having said that, if you think about it too much, you'll be brain dead, and you really hit the muzzle of the gun. Chapter 44 Conversation. Orochimaru, coveting the flying thunder god technique. Master, do you have anything else to do? It's okay, I'll leave first. Shiraishi didn't want to play brain-burning games here, so he was about to run away. After this time travel, Shiraishi has determined that this world becomes an unknown, independent time and space. 10 years later, who knows what's going on with him and Orochimaru? It is naturally impossible to use the plot card bug to open it. As for how to connect to the parallel world, how would he know? Etc. I still have something to say. The awakened Orochimaru hurriedly exited and stopped Shiraishi with a headache. Orochimaru looked at Shiraishi's strange eyes, smiled wryly, and started the showdown. In that future time and space, I made a secret agreement with my other self. Create alliances across time and space. The two parties shared intelligence and studied the power of Tsutsuki together. The early days begin with the reincarnations of Indra and Ashura. There, he cooperates with Konoha, secretly looking for traces of Tsutsuki Ichishiki. At the same time, find a way to instigate the Akatsuki organization Nagato, Uchiha Itachi, and others. Even instigating Uchiha Madara. We are here to spend more time researching the curse seal and cultivating the power of Konoha. The two worlds are the horns of each other, supporting each other. Then use the battle in that time and space as a reference to adjust our combat plan. But I didn't expect that time travel was an uncertain existence. Shiraishi, is there really no other way? Orochimaru spoke his mind in detail. After hearing Orochimaru's plan, Shiraishi couldn't help but look sideways. Orochimaru's trick of hiding Chunsong, cheating the sky, and crossing the sea plus infernal affairs is quite slippery. The risk is basically borne by that side, and my side is completely guaranteed to make a profit. It's a pity that this plan, there's nothing I can do to cross that world again. The only way to travel through time is dragon veins and Tsutsuki noble phantasms. The power of the dragon's veins is very uncertain, and we don't have the noble phantasm of Tsutsuki. What's more, it's a parallel world. Take a step back. Even if the two worlds have been linked after this time travel, we have no way to try to travel. If you try, you have to go to Longmai to try your luck. But it's definitely not going to happen in a few years. Master, this matter is very difficult. Shiraishi shrugged as he thought about the situation of Dragon Ball Trunks crossing. As for salvaging the Tsutsuki noble phantasm from this world, Shiraishi didn't even think about it. Going to the sea to find that one is like finding a needle in a haystack, unless you have the aura of the protagonist. It is impossible. Besides, they don't have the power of Tsutsuki to break the seal. Looking for that thing, isn't it just full of food? You mean that our two worlds may have been linked? As long as there is a tool to traverse, is it possible to traverse two worlds? Orochimaru's eyes suddenly lit up, and he asked Shiraishi excitedly. He left a consciousness body in Sasuke before. So, is it possible for Sasuke to come here with a treasure? Doesn't this open up the two worlds? Thinking of this, Orochimaru hurriedly told Shiraishi his thoughts. Well, it's not impossible, but we'll know if you don't try. May or may not. Shiraishi scratched his head and sighed. How would he know such a thing without trying? Master Orochimaru, is really flexible. Leave such a backhand. But this possibility is useless to us for the time being. That's an uncertain future. Master, let's be more pragmatic. You first dirty the second generation. Let him help you study the spell. By the way, I asked him to learn a life-saving ninjutsu. Shiraishi looked at the agitated Orochimaru and couldn't help but pour cold water on him. Although he likes to play badly and lie down to win, he will never wishful thinking about those unreliable unknowns. Filthy second generation? Life-saving ninjutsu? Orochimaru's expression changed upon hearing this, and he asked strangely. In his impression, second generation didn't have any life-saving ninjutsu. Flying Thunder God technique? You should know this by now. I'm trying to learn that. Shiraishi didn't hide anything and said frankly, the fourth generation's Flying Thunder God technique? The memory of middle-aged Orochimaru flashed in Orochimaru's mind, and he subconsciously called out. In middle-aged Orochimaru's memory, the Flying Thunder God of the fourth generation is far more famous than the second generation. Yeah, that's the one. Master, you also know that I am a visitor from another time and space. So I want to try to see if I can learn this. Maybe I also have the talent to practice space-time ninjutsu. Shiraishi looked at Orochimaru expectantly and said eagerly, if he can learn Flying Thunder God, then he'll be really bad. With the Cursed Seal and Flying Thunder God to save your life, it is also a good experience to go to the battlefield. Traveling through Hokage, it would be too embarrassing not to get a title. Speaking of which, I just have a question. Shiraishi, what's the matter with your body? With the spell imprinted into the body, you can quickly adapt and initially master it. Chakra from Nine Tails, you can also easily control it. Do you know why? Orochimaru thought of all the doubts before and asked, by the way. Probably the original physical influence. I don't quite understand either. Shiraishi really didn't know about this, so he said casually. But Shiraishi was a little surprised in his heart. Could it be that the fused body of the two worlds is his cheat? The original body? I probably understand. Orochimaru, who had experienced reincarnation, looked at Shiraishi thoughtfully. Orochimaru's living corpse reincarnation will also carry the former chakra and some abilities. I agree to the Dirty Soil second generation, but I have to wait for a while. I need to adjust my status, then take a trip to Richie Cave. Orochimaru thought about his own changes and said with a deep sigh, although he has the Seal of the Sky now, Orochimaru still wants to learn the Sage Mode of Richie Cave. According to the memory of the middle-aged Orochimaru, he was forced to choose to study the Curse Seal because his body was not up to standard. The current Orochimaru learning Sage Mode is not only to fulfill his wish, but also to better study the spell. After all, the essence of Curse Seal is still immortal art. Only by knowing the abilities and changes of Sage Mode can you research stronger spells faster. On top of that, Orochimaru is just barely getting a Kaga level in normal form. He revived the middle-aged Orochimaru before and didn't completely devour all of the other's chakra. Ninjutsu and other aspects, there's also a lot to practice and get used to. Is that so? Then Master, you first pass on me the body replacement technique that spits out my mouth. This thing can also be used as a life-saving ninjutsu. Shiraishi thought for a second and stretched out his hand to beg for cheap with a smile. Orochimaru streams body replacement technique, which is a life-saving body replacement technique. Orochimaru looked at Shiraishi with a hippie smile and was speechless for a moment. What does it mean to spit out my body replacement technique? Playing magic, this is... The body replacement technique needs a software makeover. If you're not modified, you will consume a lot of chakra when you use it. Are you sure you want to learn this? Why don't you wait for the laboratory to be built and transform your body first? Orochimaru looked maliciously at Shiraishi and abducted him. Through software modification, he can also study Shiraishi's body, by the way. This is the normal desire of a scientist facing a strange physique. I don't want to modify the body indiscriminately. Waste chakra, waste it. I'm just using it to save my life, not just for fun. Shiraishi refused without thinking. After the software transformation, is he still a normal man? Thinking of Orochimaru's snake demon demeanor, Shiraishi couldn't help but shudder. Software modification. Don't even want to die. Chapter 45, Questioning of the Third Generation. A battle of wits and courage. Next day, Hokage office, Orochimaru, the mountain city of Shiraishi. The thing about Tsutsuki is just too scary and incredible. This is related to Konoha's major decision-making in the future. It will also cause a lot of chain reactions. For the sake of Konoha, I will torture Shiraishi with illusion information. Orochimaru, you have no problem with this. Don't worry, I have set up multiple barriers in this office, so no information will be leaked. Third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was wearing a Hokage robe, looked at the two of them and said in a solemn voice, "This is a prudent decision made by third generation after a night of thinking last night. As long as Shiraishi is not lying, he will fully support Orochimaru." But Orochimaru didn't think so. Through very busy intelligence, he has completely believed in Shiraishi. Naturally, they would not agree with third generation's decision. The intelligence torture of illusion will not only reveal all the secrets of ninjas, it will also cause a certain amount of mental damage. Most importantly, Orochimaru didn't want the third generation to know Shiraishi's otherworld identity. Sarutobi Sensei, do you want Konoha to be destroyed? Orochimaru stared at third generation sharply and said without backing down, "With the current situation in the ninja world, as long as the Orochimaru is willing, Konoha will fall into civil strife at any time, which will trigger the siege of other villages. Orochimaru, this is for Konoha. As long as he is not lying, I will support you unconditionally. Can't even give me this bit of sincerity? How can I trust you guys?" Seeing Orochimaru's attitude, third generation's dissatisfaction broke out completely, and the sound was like a bell. In the intriguing ninja world, the conspiracy and tricks experienced by third generation are far beyond Shiraishi's imagination. If it wasn't for this series of things that made him lose his mind, how could he agree to Orochimaru's proposal so easily? Trust? Isn't what you know now enough? Orochimaru didn't retreat at all, and the snake eyes stared at third generation's aura of aura and said coldly. Third generation naturally knew that what Orochimaru was talking about was information about World War II and World War III that he had heard after traveling. Kintsugi things, after all, is the unknown future. To be on the safe side, he still wanted to confirm. In an instant, the two confronted each other, neither giving way. "Master, third generation, you don't have to fight. In fact, whether I like it or not, none of your illusion or torture techniques will work on me. If third generation doesn't believe me, I can't prove it either." Shiraishi looked at the two people who were full of gunpowder, took 2 steps forward, and said helplessly, "The illusion is invalid?" Third generation turned to stare at Shiraishi with suspicion. It's not that there are no such people, but Shiraishi is so strange. Orochimaru also stared at Shiraishi unexpectedly. His eyes were burning. If so, then Shiraishi is born to restrain Uchiha? Even the Manjiki Sharingan didn't do much for him. That's right. I'm naturally immune to mental attacks like illusions. So if you want to use illusions and other means to torture me, there's no need for it. Shiraishi ignored the surprised stares of the two and said calmly, "No, I'm going to try. Magic, this is not a technique." Third generation frowned and quickly closed his hands and shouted in a low voice, "This is not a technique, but a sea-level illusion that makes the opponent mistake one place for another." Orochimaru also did not stop. Under the technique of the third generation, the environment here should be a terrifying battlefield. Mountains of corpses, seas of blood, and endless killings are what the practitioner sees. But Shiraishi's expression didn't change at all. Illusion Nirvana abode technique. Seeing that Shiraishi didn't respond, third generation changed his hands again and threw an A-level hypnosis technique over. With his Kaga-level strength, let alone Shiraishi is a Genin. Even if Chunin comes, he has to fall asleep. Genin also took a nap, but under the horrified gaze of third generation, Shiraishi still didn't respond at all. It's really immune to illusion. The third generation was completely shocked at this moment, lowered its hands, and stared at Shiraishi in surprise. In this case, you can only trust Shiraishi. You can't blame me for not cooperating with you. Teacher Sarutobi. Orochimaru withdrew his momentum, looked at third generation with a playful look and smiled lightly. Third generation, what is your problem with us? Seeing third generation's embarrassed face, Shiraishi broke the atmosphere and asked directly. It's okay. He has to go back to practice snake ball flow body replacement technique and Rasengan. Ahem. Now I know the Second Ninja World War and the Third Ninja World War. These two battles are meaningless at all. I thought carefully about whether or not to hold the Five Kages Conference. The five villages unite to defend against Uchiha Madara and future Tsutsuki. Just relying on Konoha itself, the pressure is too great. What do you think? Third generation quickly restrained the embarrassment before and asked with a thick face. Since the information cannot be tortured, it would be a bit too much to say that. Could it be that torture is still necessary? Third generation, I haven't said it before. This is the time of war, and no village will trust us. It will serve no purpose other than leaking information. And there is another important reason. Shiraishi stared at third generation with black lines all over his head and asked, is this guy really a ninja? Important reason? Third generation and Orochimaru looked at Shiraishi at the same time, not knowing why. The Second World War and the Third World War, on the surface, seem to be battles between countries because of the uneven distribution of benefits. But in fact, there are shadows of Black Zetsu and Uchiha Madara in it. Uchiha Madara's first chess piece, Nagato, lost his parents in World War II and started his ninja career. The second chess piece, Uchiha Obito, was calculated by Uchiha Madara to become his avatar in the third battle to execute Project Tsuki-no-Mi. Therefore, we cannot avoid these two wars at all. Don't do these useless tasks. Instead, we have to play tricks. Take advantage of the chaos of a war to take Nagato into Konoha to test Uchiha Madara's attitude. Decide on the next plan. Shiraishi thought of Nagato's growth path and suggested accordingly. So, it is. Bring Nagato back to Konoha? How is this possible? Wasn't he a pawn that Uchiha Madara prepared for his resurrection? Third generation looked at Shiraishi in surprise and questioned. No, it's very possible. Nagato is Jiraiya's disciple at Rain Shinobi Village. That idiot sees Rinnegan and thinks Rinnegan is some kind of destiny child. In that world, Uchiha Madara didn't hold back. I guess in this world, Uchiha Madara wouldn't hold back either. He needs someone to help Nagato grow. Orochimaru's eyes lit up, and he agreed next to Shiraishi. He who received the memories of the middle-aged Orochimaru knows the future in far more detail than the third generation. Master is right. As long as it can help Nagato grow, Uchiha Madara's pride doesn't care who the teacher is. In his view, Nagato is just resurrecting his pawn. Using poor intelligence information is our advantage. However, it is also necessary to prevent the occurrence of. So before that, we still strengthen the strength of Konoha down to earth. Not to mention cursed seals and scientific research. The other is to encourage Senju and Uchiha to have more children. Open more ninjutsu to ordinary ninjas to increase Konoha's strength. According to the intelligence of future geniuses, the Konoha elite team was established. From now on, train a large number of medical classes and sealing classes to prepare for future wars. Shiraishi's proposal immediately made third generation and Orochimaru nod in agreement. There's still 2 years to go until the heat of World War II, and 5 to the final armistice. Time is not very tight. Inadvertently, Shiraishi and Orochimaru looked at each other and smiled, with a tacit understanding. Rinnegan, the key to summoning the 10 Tails Golem. If Uchiha Madara doesn't want it, they're welcome. The same goes for refusing to cooperate with the Big Four. Otherwise, collecting tailed beasts in the future will not be defeated one by one, but Konoha vs. the 4 major kingdoms. Third generation, who was still thinking about the problem, had no idea that he had become a chess piece for the two of them. These 2 masters and apprentices together have at least 800 minds. Then Sarutobi Sensei. Now, is it time to talk about Danzo? Orochimaru watched as the pensive third generation changed the subject and began to seize power. Chapter 46, I am Danzo, Danzo. What do you want me to do? Third generation's face tightened, and when he thought of Danzo's various evil deeds after that, he suddenly looked complicated. No matter what the future Danzo will be, at least he can't do anything with the current Danzo. For Konoha, he can't stay. Orochimaru's light words immediately made third generation's heart sink to the bottom of the valley. Silence is golden. In an instant, the strange atmosphere in the office calmed down. Bang, bang, bang. Just when Shiraishi felt a little embarrassed, there was a knock on the door, breaking the stiff atmosphere. Third generation hurriedly stood up and opened the door, hiding his embarrassment. In this office blessed with enchantment, the voice inside cannot be heard from the outside. Tsunade? Jiraiya? Why are you here? Third generation frowned when he saw the two people outside the door. Orochimaru had already given him enough headaches. Two more wouldn't kill him. Sensei Sarutobi, you forgot what you promised me? Of course it's Danzo's problem. Tsunade walked into the office, grumbling unhappily. Jiraiya behind her with dark circles open, followed behind Tsunade drowsily. Orochimaru, you are indeed here. I just went to your house to look for you and didn't see anyone. Shiraishi, you are here too. Call my sister to listen. Seeing Orochimaru's calmness, Tsunade teased Shiraishi with a happy smile. She turned to Orochimaru and Jiraiya just to support herself. Either it's Tsunade, or Miss Tsunade, or my wife. You can call these three whatever you want. Don't think about others. Seeing the radiant Tsunade, Shiraishi couldn't help but say hi. My sister's busy now. I'll talk about your question later. When Tsunade heard the last wife, she said with a hint of shame and pride on her pretty face, Shiraishi, be careful when I beat you like this again. Tsunade is 10 years older than you. Give up this unrealistic fantasy. She will be my wife Jiraiya-sama from now on. Jiraiya, who was a little confused, immediately interjected and yelled, What nonsense? That's my wife. Don't take advantage of it. You look like a bear today. Can it be that you watched something restricted last night? I remember you brought back that little red book. Faced with this principled question, Shiraishi naturally replied unceremoniously. In an instant, Jiraiya's expression froze, and she was speechless in embarrassment. Last night, he still couldn't help watching and studying his future masterpiece. He, a young man with a fresh blood, naturally got out of control after going through all this. Tsunade, next to him, heard the conversation between the two and finally couldn't help punching Jiraiya and shouted loudly. Caught off guard, Jiraiya was almost punched and flew out. Seeing Jiraiya's miserable appearance, Shiraishi dodged behind Orochimaru subconsciously. The so-called gentleman does not move his hands, but he still has the tolerance for women. Tsunade snorted when he saw Shiraishi's movement and turned to look at third generation. If it can deter Shiraishi from doing that again, that's good too. Mr. Sarutobi, Danzo, what are you going to do? Tsunade gritted his teeth and asked. His pretty face turned frosty. At the same time, Orochimaru cast his eyes over, his icy snake eyes exuding killing intent. Now is the time of war. Danzo is a powerful ninja after all. Just let him go to the front line and shine the last light for Konoha. Until death, third generation saw their attitudes, thought of Danzo's various deeds afterwards. His eyes sharpened, and he gritted his teeth and decided. This is his last concession. There was no way he could kill Danzo with his own hands. Tsunade finally let go of the frown when he heard this and nodded in agreement. This will not only deal with Danzo, but also reduce some losses for Konoha. Tsunade has nothing to say. Even Orochimaru agreed to the decision of third generation by default. No, Danzo can't go to the front. On the contrary, it must be solved in Konoha. Master, your impure world reincarnation just needs a sacrifice. The more powerful the sacrificial offering, the closer it will be to the strength that came out of the dirt. Kaga-level offerings are not to be missed. Seeing that several people agreed to the plan for Danzo, Shiraishi stopped him aloud. Danzo is a shit-stirring stick. How can Shiraishi not know? Counting on him to die on the front line? That's bullshit. Wait and see for a while at most, as long as he confirms that the third generation is going to kill him. What kind of moth will come out? It's fine if they rebel against the village. I'm afraid that guy will sneak back to the village and stage a coup. This is an unstable factor for Shiraishi. If he knows something, it will be a big trouble. Kage-level sacrifice. Orochimaru's pupils shrank when he heard this, and his eyes were bright. Reanimation jutsu, who inherited middle-aged Orochimaru, is actually immature. Not only is there a failure rate, but there are also limitations in terms of strength. A good sacrifice is indeed a way to increase the effect of impure world reincarnation. Otherwise, in Konoha's collapse plan, with the strength of the old third generation, can you bring first generation and second generation to feed Shinigami? Not even the third generation at its peak. Say no to God of Ninja, first Hokage. Just one Ninja World Speed second generation item can make third generation follow behind and eat ashes. Ms. Sarutobi, I am preparing second generation to help me improve the spell seal. One Danzo for second Hokage. You have no objection. Orochimaru stared at third generation with fiery eyes. Third generation subconsciously opened his mouth to refuse, but swallowed the words back. The use of sacrifices is naturally a joke in the face of real interests. Reanimation jutsu. Second generation was used a lot during World War I. A Danzo for second generation is naturally a very cost-effective deal. The purpose of the second generation is to develop talents, and as a disciple, the third generation is naturally clear and ruthless. Improving the curse seal is the top priority of Konoha's future. But regarding the fetters of Danzo, third generation has been unable to decide for a long time. Summoning second grandpa? Orochimaru, that means I can see second grandpa again. Why not grandpa? I still like him. Gambling with him is the happiest. Tsunade looked at Orochimaru with surprised eyes, pouted, and said regretfully, "Come on, let's go find Danzo at the root." The third generation, who was struggling, heard Tsunade's muttering and finally made up his mind. If the second generation is successful, then the first generation is not the same. With these two sitting in Konoha, there is nothing to worry about in the face of the next reforms and wars. Third generation agreed, with Orochimaru and Tsunade immediately following, along with a blue-eyed Jiraiya. Although Orochimaru is ready to adjust his status, if there is a Kage-level sacrifice delivered to his door, he doesn't mind changing the order a bit either, summoning second generation first, and then go to Richie Cave to practice Sage Mode. Shiraishi followed behind them, staring playfully at the back of third generation, and followed quickly. How could such an interesting thing not go to see? This proper person sits at home. Disaster comes from heaven. What is a double standard? Third generation is now a good interpretation of this vocabulary. If Orochimaru used impure world reincarnation to attack Konoha, it would be thinking evil and blaspheming the dead. But if you're a person with vested interests, then completely ignore these. Sure enough, no matter in which world. Attitude is the key. Winner and loser are nothing more than that. Chapter 47 Danzo is angry versus third generation Orochimaru, the root Shimura Dans. The head of the roots in his prime, an assistant to Hokage, looked at the experimental bench in front of him with a frown. On the experimental table, a piece of flesh and blood was quickly lignified by Hashirama cells, and it turned into a piece of dead wood in a blink of an eye. Failed again. It seems that Nawaki's organs still have to be obtained. Has that Ryoma guy come back yet? Danzo withdrew his gaze in disappointment, frowned, and muttered to himself. The current root forces have not penetrated Konoha Anbu, so he does not know that Aburame Ryoma has failed and been captured. Suddenly, there was a bang. The door of the laboratory was blasted open from the outside. Danzo, you really are still studying the avenue. Before Danzo turned his head, the warm and angry voice of third generation rang in his ears. In an instant, cold sweat broke out on Danzo's forehead. His current city and courage are not as powerful as those of later generations. Sarutobi, listen to me explain, huh? Orochimaru, Tsunade, Jiraiya? Sarutobi, what are you going to do? Danzo subconsciously wanted to quibble, but when he turned his head and saw the Sarutobi team glaring at him, he panicked instantly. Open your eyes and tremble. As for Shiraishi after the 4, Danzo just ignores it. The melon-eating crowd, Shiraishi looked at the nervous Danzo, full of surprises. The 37-year-old Danzo is not as dark as the later generations in terms of appearance and temperament. It seems that the form and style are not as vigorous as before. The only similarities are the covered right eye and the cross scar on the chin. Danzo, you've let me down so much. Not only blatantly violating my orders and conducting with style experiments privately. Also experiment with Lord First Hokage's grandson. Your actions have completely violated the will of fire. Danzo, I am now under the name of Third Hokage. You will be relieved of all duties and sentenced to death. Execute immediately. A flash of determination flashed in third generation's eyes, looking at Danzo's eyes and speaking righteously. Sorry, Danzo, you have to die for Konoha, death, the death penalty. Danzo opened his mouth wide, his left eye trembled, and looked at third generation in disbelief and said in horror, "Is this the death penalty? Were you kidding? That's not what you said when we were working on with style together. Now he has only continued to study for a short time, and he is sentenced to death? Sarutobi, what are you kidding? Even if you want to kill me, you have to give me a suitable reason. It's not that you didn't participate in the wood style experiment. Don't say it so grandiosely. Nawaki, I didn't hurt him, even if you want to punish me. It's not a crime to die." Danzo immediately realized that Aburame Ryoma should have failed and argued loudly with fear in his heart. Now he is fighting against the third generation. There is no chance of winning. Not to mention other things, most of the root ninjas will not attack third generation. His strength is at most tied with third generation. What's more, there are 3 elite genin, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya. Give you a reason? Third generation froze upon hearing Danzo's sophistry, a little embarrassed. Indeed, what Danzo is doing now is not a capital offense. Although determined, but after so many years of fetters, Danzo really feels a little sorry for being sentenced like this. But the future him, thinking of those futures, third generation's eyes light up. Okay, then I'll give you a reason. Now you dare to do this behind my back. After that, he would do more excessive things. Danzo, you who are in the dark will gradually fall, killing Senju and Uchiha for their own selfish desires, causing a crisis of destroying the village for Konoha. Even assassinate Hokage. One day you will become the darkness of Konoha. For the future of Konoha, I now sentence you to death. Under Danzo's stunned astonishment, third generation said with certainty and sternness. For this answer, whether it was Danzo or the root ninja behind him, they all looked at third generation in a daze. Seeing Danzo's bewildered face and third generation seriousness, Shiraishi almost laughed. Just kill it. Why so much nonsense? Condemning the present with the sins of the future? This is not beheading officials of this dynasty with the sword of the previous dynasty. Third generation really has an idea. Compared to Shiraishi and the others, Danzo is about to explode. What kind of shit reason is this? Kill him with an imaginary future? Ridiculous. Really ridiculous. But when Danzo saw the serious attitude of the 4 members of the Sarutobi team, Danzo was completely angry. This really wants him to die. While angry, Danzo thought a possibility. Sarutobi, I see. Use me to help you stabilize the authority of Hokage. You have to kill the donkey now. Even a reason for killing me is so perfunctory, Sarutobi. Your methods are so ruthless. Danzo stared at third generation fiercely and roared. The chakra on his body erupted. Sitting still is not his style, Danzo. Since the third generation is ruthless, don't blame him for Danzo's heart wolf. Escape first, pull Udatane Karu and Midokado Hamura with them, and unite with the major families to overthrow the third generation. Maybe you might even get his hands on the 4th Hokage. Stop them. Danzo yelled loudly at his 2 henchmen, biting his fingers and making seals quickly. Whoosh whoosh. Third generation saw that Danzo wanted to summon the summoning beast, Nightmare Taper, and immediately threw his shuriken to interrupt Danzo. As Danzo's partner, he knows the terror of a nightmare. Tsunade and Jiraiya met the two root ninjas in perfect harmony. Ninja, multiple shulker snake hands. With one wave of Orochimaru's hand, a dozen lion majesties of different colors were thrown out instantly. In the blink of an eye, it wrapped itself around Danzo's body and bit it down. The venom full of anesthesia was instantly injected into Danzo's body, making him unable to move. At the same time, Tsunade and Jiraiya also dealt with the two root Chunin. All this happens only between breaths. The other root ninjas were still waiting and hesitating, but Danzo missed and was captured. There is no seal. Orochimaru, how can your strength? Danzo looked at Orochimaru in horror and said in surprise. It was because he didn't see Orochimaru's seal that he was caught in the sneak attack. Ms. Sarutobi, I'm currently characterizing the impure world reincarnation spell. You bring me the flesh and blood of the second generation. Orochimaru didn't even look at Danzo, but said to third generation excitedly. Okay, third generation took a deep look at Danzo and went to the laboratory deep in the roots. There, the corpses of the first generation and second generation are stored. Impure world reincarnation. Master second Hokage. That's why you want to make me a sacrifice. Sarutobi, Orochimaru, you wolves. It was for this that I was sentenced to death. Ha ha ha. Sarutobi Hiruzen, I finally see you clearly now. Second generation is right. I'm not as good as you. Not as good as you. Danzo looked at the two with crazy eyes and suddenly realized. As a disciple of second generation, Danzo naturally knew the requirements of impure world reincarnation for sacrifices. Back then, he secretly learned this forbidden technique, but he didn't have enough talent to learn it. Unexpectedly, Orochimaru learned it. Danzo, I do everything to be unrighteous. When I go to the Pure Land, I will explain the reason to you. Third generation, whose back was against Danzo, paused and sighed with mixed feelings. Pure Land? I don't want to go to that place yet. Sarutobi, are you sure you won? Danzo, who was paralyzed by the snake venom, suddenly let out a grin, and his body turned into an illusion and disappeared. In the next instant, Danzo, intact, appeared outside the laboratory door. Without the slightest hesitation, Danzo broke out and ran out at full speed. Izanagi, Danzo will do this now? That covered right. Is Uchiha Kageme's Sharingan. Shiraishi blurted out when he saw this familiar scene. In his memory, Danzo's first appearance was during World War III. When the right eye was transplanted, Sharingan is not known. Izanagi? The resurrection of that Uchiha forbidden technique. Orochimaru's expression changed, and he burst out with a low shout. Chakra quickly chased after him. Master, Danzo's Izanagi is about half a minute. No more than 1 minute. Shiraishi suddenly thought of something and was busy talking to the sky behind him. After Danzo, theirs would style Cell Blessing, and one Izanagi only takes 1 minute. Presumably the current Danzo is about half a minute at most. Orochimaru sharpened his eyes when he heard the words. The curse mark on his neck glowed scarlet, and black lines spread all over his body. He wants a quick fight. Behind Orochimaru, a generation follows. The speed of Orochimaru, blessed by the curse seal, is comparable to that of a meteor. Pulled out a long afterimage like a ghost, and came behind Danzo in a blink of an eye. Orochimaru's eyes sharpened, his head extended like a long snake to the back of Danzo's neck, and he bit it off. The seal of the curse that has been prepared is activated directly with the snake's teeth. The seal of curse is a curse seal technique that binds the body. The caster will have bound spell marks all over his body, unable to move. However, Danzo's Izana Mountain has changed. Orochimaru obviously felt that he had bitten the entity good enough, but in the next moment it turned into nothingness. Danzo's figure also appeared on the other side of the passage. Fortunately, Shiraishi's reminder made Orochimaru not careless. As early as when he was attacking, his hands also formed seals simultaneously. Earth-style multiple soil flow walls, Orochimaru showed a sneer at the corner of his eyes, clapped his hands on the ground, and drank in a low voice. In an instant, multiple earth flow walls rose up in front of the passage to block the exit. Danzo, who was about to rush out, changed his complexion His face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He secretly scolded himself for why he designed the exit passage so long in the first place, to add to the blockage for himself. He completely forgot that this was his plan to prevent leaks and block the enemy. Fire style Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. The third generation who followed closely behind also rushed up, stood in front of Orochimaru, and opened his mouth to shout. A line of fire spewed out from the mouth of third generation, turning into a ferocious fire dragon and drowning Danzo. In the next instant, Danzo's figure appeared intact behind third generation and Orochi. Ninja Summoning Technique. This time Danzo didn't run away, but quickly finished the seal and yelled, "His Izanagi, the time has come." As Shiraishi said, Danzo's Izanagi was only 20 seconds long. Rumbling, as soon as the nightmare appeared, it relied on its huge size to break through the corridor. A nightmare comparable to one Tai's body, with 4 thick tiger-striped legs standing on top of the ruins. The long nose flicked at will, and the fierce animal pupils stared ahead. Chapter 48, 10,000 Snakes vs. Nightmare Tapers. Dirt Second Hokage. What a big summoning beast. Is this Danzo's dream-eating beast, the nightmare? Orochimaru quickly dodged and broke through the ruined walls, and couldn't help but be surprised when he saw the huge size of the nightmare. Neither he nor the future Orochimaru has ever seen Danzo's summoning beast. Orochimaru and the battle quickly. Do not cause unrest in the village. Third generation followed closely to Orochimaru, looked around, and breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the roots are set up behind Konoha Shadow Rock, not in the village. Otherwise, things will be troublesome. Swallow him. Danzo stood on top of the nightmare, stroking the dark right eye, and said bitterly, "That 3-Tomo Sharingan is one of his important cards. Didn't realize it was such a waste." What the nightmare heard Danzo's order, opened its mouth wide, and roared loudly. In an instant, a powerful wind style issued from the mouth of the nightmare. All the objects in front were pulled into the mouth of the nightmare and devoured by the huge suction. Whether it is vegetation, giant trees, or masonry tiles, no one is spared. Do it. Fire style Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. The third generation, who knew the weakness of the nightmare, let out a roar and quickly completed the Madra with both hands like a butterfly. Although the nightmare can absorb everything, it can be harmed by the 3-attribute ninjutsu of fire, water, and thunder. Too naive, Sarutobi. Seeing this, Danzo smiled disdainfully, stepped on the nightmare, and the nightmare instantly stopped talking. With a blow from the huge long nose, the fire style blown back by the powerful wind pressure instantly rushed back. Just as third generation knew Danzo, Tuan was also very familiar with third generation. Third generation and Orochimaru immediately dodged one left and one right, and rushed towards the nightmare at the same time. As long as they come to the head of the nightmare, the devouring of the nightmare will be useless. Wind-style vacuum Lianhua. But Danzo didn't show it, and quickly sealed his hands to attack third generation. At the same time, he also threw it at the big snake. Danzo, who has already stepped out of the roots, does not intend to run away at this time. 670. The appearance of the nightmare will definitely attract the attention of the village. As long as he persists for a while, Konoha's ninja will come to check the situation. Then is the time to overthrow the third generation. He helped the third generation to stabilize the situation before, and he left a lot of evidence. As long as the suppressed families see an opportunity, they will definitely stand by his side. Ninja Summoning Technique. Orochimaru broke out, and Chakra grabbed the ground, biting his fingers and finishing the seal with difficulty, and shouted. Bang! Huge white smoke rose from Orochimaru's feet, and a huge purple body appeared at the same time. As the white smoke is quickly swallowed by the nightmare, the 10,000 snakes of this world make their debut. Compared with Konoha's Mansake in 61 years, the current Mansake is not much weaker in size. As soon as one snake came out, he felt the powerful devouring power of the nightmare, and his tail quickly inserted into the ground like a spike to stabilize his figure. Great suction. Orochimaru Did you summon me because you wanted to die? One snake turned its huge snake pupils and roared in a grumpy voice. One snake, kill it, otherwise I will kill you. A fierce light flashed in Orochimaru's eyes, and he greeted 10,000 snakes' pupils with murderous intent. In the past, one snake's rebellious character was caused by his lack of strength. Now he has the strength to tame 10,000 snakes. Orochimaru, how did your strength improve so much? 10,000 snakes reflexively wanted to refute, but when he saw Orochimaru in the first spell, he was shocked. The curse sealed one snake doesn't know it, but one snake who exudes a shadow-level aura can feel it. Kage-level Orochimaru can indeed threaten its life. Orochimaru, I will help you once today. One snake struggled for less than half a second, then forced his mouth to compromise. The current Orochimaru is indeed qualified to be its partner. 10,000 snakes who decided to fight twitched their tails and rushed towards the nightmare with a powerful suction. Danzo, who was standing on the head of the nightmare taper, had noticed 10,000 snakes a long time ago, but the third generation's attack made him unable to make a move at all. He watched 10,000 snakes rushing over quickly, and the snake wrapped itself around the nightmare taper. The moment 10,000 snakes entangled the nightmare taper around the body of the snake, the huge, ferocious snake mouth bit the nightmare taper's head. What the nightmare screamed in pain, turned into white smoke and returned to the summoning habitat. Sneaker's snake hand, ready to go, Orochimaru rushed to Danzo's back, and several lion majesty greeted him. Danzo, who was fighting with the third generation, was accidentally attacked by Orochimaru. At the moment when Danzo was paralyzed by lion majesty, Orochimaru's head came to Danzo's shoulder like a snake, and the seal of the curse was activated again. This time, Danzo, without his Anagi, was directly hit, obediently bound and motionless on the ground. Danzo never dreamed that he couldn't last for a while in the hands of the two, especially Orochimaru, who stepped into the shadow level without making a sound. Take him back to the roots. The innermost lab has what you need. Let me handle it here. Third generation swept his eyes and saw the Konoha shinobi rushing towards Orochimaru from a distance. Orochimaru didn't say much, grabbed Danzo with one hand, and fled underground. Seeing the end of the battle, one snake greedily glanced at the ninja who was rushing towards him, swallowed his saliva, and disappeared. Root Lab Shiraishi and Tsunade stood in the room wrapped in the toad's stomach. Those root members are also bound to the flesh wall. The appearance of a nightmare taper before caused the place to tremble for a while. The battle is over. Jiraiya, who was always paying attention to the outside, breathed a sigh of relief and unlocked the ninjutsu. Now he is not proficient in this toad mouth restraint technique. Jiraiya undoes the next breath of ninjutsu, and Orochimaru reappears in front of Shiraishi with the bound Danzo. Orochimaru went straight to the innermost laboratory without saying a word when he came to them. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shiraishi looked at each other and followed immediately. Tsunade smashed the door. Arriving at the door of the laboratory, Orochimaru pointed at the door and yelled directly at Tsunade. Tsunade was not hypocritical, and he punched lightly with his pink and white fist. The entire stone gate was instantly torn apart, turning into rubble and falling at the feet of everyone. Excellent chakra control. Tsunade, your power punch has improved again. CBDJ. Shiraishi stared at the broken stones the size of glass balls all over the floor. His pupils shrank, and he said, dumbfounded, "Of course, but I learned a lot of skills to control chakra from her. It's impolite to call me sister." Tsunade wrinkled her nose and waved her small fist, shaking her pale yellow single ponytail, and said arrogantly. This made Shiraishi, an ordinary person, look very happy, and the apes on both sides of the strait couldn't help crying. Debt. Good, what a cruel place. At this moment, Jiraiya's exclamation caught their attention. Shiraishi followed Jiraiya's gaze and saw two lifelike corpses. First generation Mesh Senju Hashirama, Second generation Mesh Senju Fei. Then, there are rows of strange existences stored in the nutrient solution. Some are a small tree, some are a broken arm, and some are half-human, half-wood experiments. There are many bloody existences Shiraishi can't bear to look directly, and, without exception, they're all dead things. The impact of this scene, Ishur, made Shiraishi somewhat reversed. The same is true for Jiraiya and Tsunade. Although Tsunade is a medical ninja, he has never seen this scene. The only normal ones are the well-informed Orochimaru and Danzo. Orochimaru came to the corpse of second generation with a calm expression, took off a little flesh and blood, and began to describe the spell. Next to the corpse of first generation, because I can't even see it. Hashirama cells have been studied by Orochimaru for decades. Orochimaru, can you let me go? I can tell you the secret of first-generation cells. As long as you let me go, you'll be the next ninja god. Danzo finally panicked when he saw Orochimaru began to describe the technique, and Yuan Kyudeo was sweating. Orochimaru smiled disdainfully when he heard the words, and the movements of his hands did not stop at all. Others don't know about Danzo's research. How could he not? The most successful transplantable first-generation cells were after the Third Ninja World War. As far as Danzo is concerned, nothing has come of it. Seeing Danzo's flustered and embarrassed look, Shiraishi couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. I didn't expect Danzo to be so afraid of death now. There is no awareness of the Shippuden period at all. Under the torment of Danzo's horror, Orochimaru's spell was finally completed. At Orochimaru's behest, Jiraiya put Danzo in the sacrificial position of, I hope to succeed once. Otherwise, such a good sacrifice will be wasted. After Orochimaru took a deep breath, he looked at the terrified Danzo and said in a deep voice, "This is his first time using reanimation jutsu. In Si Su Chun. Ninja reanimation jutsu." According to the experience in memory, Orochimaru slowly sealed and slapped the ground and shouted, "What?" A white halo suddenly appeared under the terrified Danzo. A large amount of shards of dirt appeared quickly, covering Danzo's whole body amid painful wailing. Accompanied by Danzo's screams, his body transformed into the appearance of second Hokage in the blink of an eye. Silver hair and red pupils, 3 red marks on both sides of the cheeks, wearing black clothes and blue layered armor, shoulders with a white feather collar connected to the back. There are a few dirt cracks on the face. In an instant, the soul of the second generation entered the body of the dirt. Under Orochimaru's uneasy expectation, the closed eyes of the dirty soil second generation suddenly opened. A pair of dark red eyes with a black background stared forward, and the powerful blue chakra exploded in the audience. Impure world reincarnation. Some of Konoha's descendants actually inherited the forbidden technique developed by the old man. Amazing talent. What are you calling me for? Is Konoha under attack? Dirt second generation looked at Orochimaru wearing the Konoha forehead protector and said indifferently with full momentum. Second grandpa Tsunade next to him heard the voice of second generation again and cried out in tears of joy. Tsunade. Only then did second generation belatedly look at Tsunade and hesitated to speak. Sorry, Mr. Tobarama, rest in peace. King Pure Land, for disturbing you. At the same time, Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice came from the door and then entered the room. Sarutobi? How many years since my husband died now? What happened to Konoha? Seeing the two people they were familiar with, the dirty soil second generation asked slightly, letting go of their worries. Chapter 49, Suspicious Second Generation. Suspected, it's Konoha's 32nd year now. 15 years have passed since the teacher sacrificed. It's not convenient to talk about specific matters here. Let's go to Hokage's office to discuss in detail. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the familiar face and voice and quickly stabilized his mind. That is, the corpses of the old man and elder brother. Sarutobi, you are studying wood style. Second generation looked around, seeing the two lifelike corpses and the experimental product. His eyes changed. Staring at Sarutobi Hiruzen with sharp eyes, he said coldly, "He sealed up those materials at that time, just to prevent younger generations from following in his footsteps. Because of studying wood style, second generation knows the way of wood style. It's a pity that the sudden outbreak of war still left some information. Cough, cough. This is what Danzo did secretly. Wood style research I have long since ordered to stop. Sarutobi Hiruzen was stared at by those indifferent eyes, embarrassingly blamed Danzo. What about Danzo? Where's the other? The chakra on second generation exploded again, pressing violently in all directions. Good. Strong chakra, this power has surpassed the strength of most shadows. Stronger than the dirt in memory. It is worthy of being second Hokage, known as the fastest speed in the ninja world. Seeing such a powerful second generation, Orochimaru exclaimed with excitement in his eyes. Shiraishi, who was standing behind Orochimaru, rolled his eyes. The sacrifices used by Orochimaru in Konoha's collapse plan are all ninjas at the genin level. Does this compare to Kage-level offerings? In Shiraishi's view, the current strength of second generation is not the perfect filthy body that White Zetsu reincarnated in the fourth battle. At least is the peak strength of Kage level. Second grandpa, you go first chakra. We really have important things to say. Tsunade braved the chakra storm. His loose robe fluttered and shouted softly. Second generation stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen suspiciously upon hearing the words, and stopped bursting into chakra with a cold snort. Tobirama-sensei, we'll talk about Danzo later. Now there is something about the safety of the ninja world. Let's talk to the office. Sarutobi Hiruzen borrowed the words of the donkey down the slope and motioned for second generation to follow him to Hokage's office. Second generation scanned the audience, paused on Shiraishi, and nodded in agreement. Then everyone quickly moved to Hokage's office. And in order to avoid trouble, second generation used transformation technique to incarnate Umbu. Hokage office, stepping into the former office again. Second generation suddenly felt mixed emotions. As his eyes turned, second generation easily discovered the enchantment formula arranged by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Seeing that Sarutobi Hiruzen is so cautious, second generation couldn't help but become a little curious. Sensei Tobirama Orochimaru is alive. After closing the door, Sarutobi Hiruzen watched second generation take the lead. He knew that this teacher had always been jealous of Uchiha Madara. That guy really didn't die. He came to Konoha. Second generation's eyes sharpened, and he said in a solemn voice, "Nothing now. Second generation, you are researching forbidden technique and wood style. It really is to deal with Uchiha Madara." Orochimaru heard the deep meaning in the second generation's words and confirmed it. Second generation looked at Orochimaru unexpectedly. How could this young man know those things? Yes, when Shiraishi Madara was killed, the old man wanted to study the secret of Uchiha Mangeki. But after that, Uchiha Madara's body mysteriously disappeared. So the old man guessed that he might not be dead. At that time, the eldest brother was seriously injured. In order to prevent Uchiha Madara from attacking Konoha again, I started to study with style and developed a series of forbidden techniques, such as impure world reincarnation. But that guy didn't show up until the old man died. Unexpectedly, he is still alive now. 11 second generation didn't hide anything and said frankly. Suddenly, second generation thought of something and looked weird. Sarutobi, you said it's Konoha's 32nd year now. Then Uchiha Madara should also be in her 60s. Even if he is alive, his strength will regress a lot. What are you worried about? Second generation turned to look at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who hated that iron could not become steel. And what if he starts the Rinnegan? Shiraishi looked at the topic that several people were talking about and said bluntly, "This allows them to talk about the year of the monkey." Rinnegan, who are you? The calm second generation stared at Shiraishi in surprise. He is Yamashiro Shiraishi. He is also the person who knows the most details about this matter. What I want to say is the information he gave. Sarutobi Hiruzen stepped forward and introduced. Second generation, my next words may subvert your cognition. Whether you admit it or not, You have to accept it first. The evil Uchiha you hate is actually a blood relative of your Senju clan. Seeing the serious eyes of second generation, Shiraishi started with a smile. Uchiha is Senju's blood relative? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Do you kid know what you're talking about? Senju and Uchiha have been feuds for hundreds of years. If it wasn't for the elder brother's insistence on going his own way, it would be impossible for Senju to unite with Uchiha to establish Konoha. Uchiha has long been wiped out. Second generation's paralyzed face instantly became serious, and he shouted angrily. Because of Konoha, he can accept Uchiha, but it doesn't mean he approves of Uchiha. The same race is even more nonsense. This is also impossible. Who makes Senju Hashirama is Uchiha Madara's younger brother. He is the half-brother of the half-brother. You are just soy sauce. If you think about it, are they just playing around every time? You're fighting with Uchiha Izuna for real. Seeing how excited second generation was, Shiraishi couldn't help joking again. A half-brother? Second generation let out a bewilderment, recalling the scene of Hashirama and Madara's romantic relationship in their minds. Every time those two guys fight, there's a lot of wind and rain, and the point is endless. And he and Uchiha Izuna fight desperately every time, and there are dangers everywhere. Is there really any relationship between these two? No. How could he think of his elder brother like that? Little devil, if you are so rude again. You're welcome, old man. Say something quickly. Second generation suddenly shuddered and said viciously at those random thoughts. Honestly, why don't you believe it? The feud between Senju and Uchiha was actually instigated by someone behind. Forget it. Let's start from the beginning. Who are you coming? I'm too lazy to talk. Shiraishi looked at second generation, whose face was getting uglier, turned to Orochimaru, third generation, and the others. Those Tsutsuki shitty things have already been said twice, and I really don't want to say it again. I'm coming. Second grandfather. What Shiraishi said is not wrong. On the other hand, Grandpa is really Uchiha Madara's younger brother. Tsunade volunteered and shouted excitedly. How could she not get involved in such an interesting thing? Tsunade, are you out of your mind? Second generation looked at the smirking granddaughter. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he gritted his teeth. Second grandpa, you can talk about this after listening to it. Thousands of years ago, Tsunade smiled and began to retell what Shiraishi said. Ask for flowers as Tsunade talks about Indra's love-hate relationship with Ashura. Second generation finally senses something is wrong. After hearing that Indra established Uchiha and Ashura established Senju, second generation was completely unable to collapse. In other words, Uchiha and Senju are descendants of Indra and Ashura. We are all descendants of the sage of six paths. Second generation's dark red eyes shone with a captivating brilliance, and he questioned in disbelief. That's right, that's it. And this generation of Indra and Ashura reincarnated. That is Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. This is also the mystery of wood style. Wood style is not Senju's blood inheritance limit, but the power of Ashura's reincarnation from generation to generation. Senju inherited only the body of a celestial being. Orochimaru explained while looking at the second generation exit. Wood style is the power of Ashura. That's how it is. No wonder so many Senju people can't integrate with style. No wonder Big Brother's with style is so exaggerated. No wonder the Senju clan has a different attitude towards Uchiha. It turned out to be like this. That is to say, Big Brother is actually the ancestor of Senju. Uchiha Madara is old man's. Second generation murmured in his distraught mouth. The light in his eyes flickered chaotically, obviously shocked by the news. That's it, second grandpa. The feud between Senju and Uchiha is the conspiracy behind Black Zetsu. His purpose is to create a pair of Rinnegan, used to collect tailed beast resurrection Kagaya. Uchiha Madara feigned death by taking Grandpa's flesh and blood in the Battle of Valley of the End, and should have activated Rinnegan by now. We asked you to come out to let you and Orochimaru study spell seals and scientific research power together, strengthen Konoha's strength, and prepare for the next battle. Tsunade hurriedly explained the reason for summoning the second generation. Then why not kill Uchiha or Black Zetsu now? Now that they know their intelligence, killing them is not easy. Tell this kid to find more sacrifices and materials, and some powerful ninjas will do. After all, second generation is a calm talent. And he quickly calmed down and pointed to Orochimaru. This is not okay. Uchiha and Kagaya are just early enemies. There are even more terrifying Tsutsuki clans behind. Only the power of physical and celestial arts can harm them. So we have to prepare in advance. Shiraishi saw what was said and stepped forward to add. The Tsutsuki clan? Second generation looked at Shiraishi in amazement and wondered. Tsunade didn't mention that there are other Tsutsuki. Following the doubts of the second generation, Shiraishi explained the horror of Tsutsuki again to everyone. Hearing about Tsutsuki's secret, even the calm-minded second generation couldn't help being dumbfounded. How could there be such a terrifying family in this world? The ninja world was originally just a nursery for the Tsutsuki clan. Senju and Uchiha, just stupid puppets manipulated. That proud guy, Uchiha, how fooled by Black Zetsu. The old man suddenly felt much better. Kid, how do you know these things? After a while, second generation looked at Shiraishi and questioned after digesting all the information. I'm just an average genin who can see the future. Shiraishi shrugged casually. No, you're not an ordinary kid. Now that you can see the future, you can know the darkness and light in the ninja world. Then the old man has reason to believe that you are hiding something. Do you have any purpose? The thoughtful second generation stared at him sharply and questioned Daofan. Chapter 50 here comes the little turtle. The secret of traveling through time, looking at second generation with sharp eyes. Shiraishi couldn't help but feel a little bit in his heart. This old guy is too sharp. Second generation, my purpose is to live. Simple and pure. Shiraishi wasn't lying, very bachelor showdown. Alive? The old man does not agree with this reason. I only believe in evidence. Sarutobi, have you confirmed the authenticity of the information? Second generation snorted coldly and turned to Sarutobi Hiruzen and asked, This is not there. Shiraishi is inherently immune to psychic attacks, such as illusions, and cannot obtain information from the brain. But teacher, we went to the future with him once. There, a lot of information is exactly the same as what he said, and thus changed the fate of Nawaki's death. This should be the proof. Sarutobi Hiruzen explained awkwardly like a student in training. Been to the future? Do you still have the ability to travel through time? Second generation said in shock again, staring at Shiraishi in surprise. If so, is it possible for him to go back in time and save his younger brother Weijian and the others? Thinking of this situation, second generation suddenly became excited. What he regrets most in his life is the death of his brothers. Sorry, I don't have the ability to travel through time. Second generation. Shiraishi looked at the second, 823 generation with black lines all over his head and said, This guy's brain is too powerful. If you have that ability, it would be great to go directly through the millennium and swallow the chakra fruit before Kagaya. Second grandpa, we are through the dragon vein. Seeing second generation's disappointed and suspicious expression, Tsunade explained to him the situation of the dragon vein crossing. Ninja world actually has such power? It's incredible. But kid, the old man is even more suspicious of your purpose now. The old man does not deny that your information is shocking, but immunity to illusion attacks is your biggest suspicious point. It's okay to get the old man's help, but you have to come up with real evidence. Otherwise, the drama wants to trouble the old man. Second generation said a few words with emotion, then looked at Shiraishi and said coldly. Seeing the attitude of second generation, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt doubts in his heart, stared at Shiraishi suspiciously. Shiraishi went numb in an instant. Where does this lead him to find evidence? Could it be, would Alama to try your luck again? Seeing the gazes of second generation and Sarutobi Hiruzen, Orochimaru's orange snake eyes contracted twice, ready to open his mouth to rescue Shiraishi. At this critical moment, the peaceful space above everyone's heads suddenly distorted. A black hole 10 centimeters in diameter is formed. Be careful, this is space ninjutsu. The second generation who studied the Flying Thunder God technique immediately reacted, looked at the black hole vigilantly, and shouted. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Orochimaru also reacted in an instant, and at the same time began to make seals to prepare for ninjutsu attacks. Under everyone's amazed eyes, a pink turtle with a blue and white corrugated shell came out of it. The black hole behind him also disappeared, floating above everyone's heads. Second generation. Crow tortoise? Sarutobi Hiruzen. What kind of turtle is this? Jiraiya. A flying turtle? Tsunade. What a cute turtle. Orochimaru. Could it be that? Shiraishi. Plow, you are finally here. Everyone looked at the floating turtle and shouted in amazement. Confirm moving time coordinates, consistent with the target coordinates set by Master Sasuke. Warning for an unknown reason. Master Sasuke cannot pass through for an unknown reason. Master Sasuke cannot pass through. The turtle floating in the air ignored everyone's reaction and shouted mechanically. You were sent by Sasuke? Orochimaru blurted out when he heard the mechanical sound of plow. Could it be that the consciousness he left in Sasuke before worked? Yes. According to the setting, I was supposed to travel time with Master Sasuke. However, due to unknown reasons, Master Sasuke could not pass through. Plow, replied the machine floating in the air. You know this thing? Second generation heard the conversation between Orochimaru and the tortoise, and lowered its guard and asked, Orochimaru, what is this thing? Sarutobi Hiruzen also asked in a daze. Second generation, don't you want evidence? Here is the proof. It is the time-moving noble phantasm plow of the Tsutsuki clan. With this, we can go back to the past and witness the truth in the future. Shiraishi stared at the plow in amazement, explaining to second generation and others. With this thing here, what this means Shiraishi knows all too well. It's the basic operation to hang up, lie down, and win. The noble phantasm plow that moves time. Second generation shouted in a daze, looking at the turtle curiously. That means we can go to Konoha 61 again? That's great. So I can take Nawaki to find that Tsunade next to him jumped up and down excitedly, and the violent ups and downs made Shiraishi feast his eyes. You're saying Sasuke can't travel through time? How is this going? Shiraishi calmed down quickly and asked Plow in surprise. Have no idea. While moving time, an unknown change occurs. Sasuke-sama was kicked out of the time tunnel. Plow is still floating in the air mechanically. Shiraishi's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. He had determined before that this was an independent parallel world. Plow is just a treasure to move time, not a treasure to move space. Even if the two worlds are linked, traveling through parallel worlds will not be as easy as moving time. Are there any restrictions here? Plow, take us to your previous time coordinates. The best way is to personally verify. You sure looked at the turtle and said loudly. When the others heard this, they also stared at Plow with different expressions. Insufficient energy, unable to move time. Under the expectant eyes of everyone, the emotionless mechanical sound of Plow sounded again. Missing chakra? Second generation, your filthy body chakra is infinite. Please go and feed the turtle. Shiraishi turned his head indifferently and shouted at second generation. He likes card bugs the most. Can. The old man is very interested in this. Second generation nodded upon hearing the words, reached out and grabbed the plow, and started typing chakra. Warning, warning. The energy is impure and cannot be replenished. The energy is impure and cannot be recharged. As soon as chakra of second generation entered the body of Plow, he was spat out by Plow and warned. This makes the confident second generation a little confused. He is second Hokage. How could chakra be impure? Ahem. Chakra, who may be a filthy body, will not work. Teacher, let me come. Seeing the embarrassment of second generation, Sarutobi Hiruzen stepped forward to make a rescue. Warning, warning, the energy is impure and cannot be replenished. Energy is impure and empty. With Sarutobi Hiruzen's chakra infused, the turtle plow mechanically shouted again. This situation made Sarutobi Hiruzen almost doubt his life. He is a grandmaster with 5 attributes of chakra, and he has all completed the practice of nature transformation. How can chakra be impure? Same thing with Orochimaru. Tsunade Jiraiya, try it. Plow. Is it only the power of Tsutsuki that can replenish energy? Shiraishi suddenly thought of something and asked with an ugly face. I am the time-moving, noble phantasm Plow of the Tsutsuki clan. Of course, only the power of the Tsutsuki clan can replenish the energy. The answer of the Plow machine made everyone in the audience collectively silent. Hearing this answer, Shiraishi thought secretly. According to Boruto, the only owners of the Plow are Urashiki and Sasuke. Urastyle is the standard Tsutsuki family. At that time, Sasuke already had Rinnegan, 6-Padzine power, barely half Tsutsuki. This is very tasteless. Shiraishi, try it. Maybe you can. Orochimaru blinked a few times and said hoarsely, unwillingly. Others don't know, but he knows that Shiraishi's body is unusual. Maybe it can? Anyway, you have nothing to lose by trying. Okay, although Shiraishi felt that this was unreliable, he still had the attitude of giving a try. Reaching out to take the turtle, Shiraishi manipulated chakra into the body of Plow. At this moment, the power of Nine Tails in Shiraishi's body was suddenly pulled. Nine Tails chakra mixed with Shiraishi's chakra drilled into the body of Plow. Receive low-level energy and start replenishing. This time, Plow finally spit out different words from his mouth. This is Tails calendar area. G. Nine Tails is one of the forces divided by 10 tails. After all, it is also the power of the Tsutsuki clan. So using the chakra of the tailed beast can also replenish energy. Feeling the absorbed Nine Tails chakra, Shiraishi said suddenly. In an instant, the others looked at Plow in surprise. Konoha has a complete 9 tails and chakra, the tail beast they don't lack. Plow, now 0.1. Can you travel through time? Shiraishi looked at the fluorescent turtle and asked anxiously. Supplementing a small amount of low-level energy can move time for 1 year. Whether to time shift, Plow. This answer immediately made everyone overjoyed. As long as time can be moved, energy is easy to say. Let's go to Master Mito. Seeing this situation, Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth and decided. Sister-in-law Mito? I'll go. Second generation hesitated, feeling the flying thunder god imprint of Senju's family disappear instantly. Flying thunder god technique. Shiraishi looked at the disappearing second generation and said excitedly, "This is the life-saving magical skill he has been thinking about." Just as Shiraishi was in a trance, the second generation reappeared with the aged Mito. Sister-in-law, I will explain other things later. Now, please input Nine Tails chakra into this turtle. Second generation looked at the surprised Mito and said a little excitedly, pointing at the turtle Plow. Time travel is just around the corner. How could second generation, the master of the forbidden technique, remain indifferent? Give Nine Tails chakra to this turtle? The elderly Mito followed the second generation's gaze to Plow and said in surprise. Seeing this, Shiraishi hurriedly handed the turtle in his hand to Mito and waited for the time travel to lie down. Chapter 51, Becoming a Twin, with Kushina Nine Tails Jinchuriki under the confident expectation of everyone. Uzumaki Mito grabbed the turtle with one hand, and the Scarlet Nine Tails chakra entered it. Just when everyone thought there was no problem, Plow, Speed Demung Bean, eyes suddenly flashed scarlet and shouted mechanically again. Warning, warning, the energy is impure and cannot be replenished. The energy is impure and cannot be replenished. Uzumaki Mito was startled by the sudden mechanical sound and hurriedly retracted the Nine Tails chakra. Why doesn't it work again? It was okay before, so what happened? Sarutobi Hiruzen's complexion changed, and he stared at Plow in confusion. Second generation, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya also have puzzled expressions. Only Uzumaki Mito looked at everyone with a strange face, not knowing what they were talking about. Shiraishi, try your own chakra again. Suddenly, Orochimaru urged while suddenly thinking of some dialogue. Master, the Nine-Tails chakra has been sucked out of me. Now all I have left is a little chakra of my own. Feeling the almost bottomless chakra on his body, Shiraishi explained helplessly. Turn on the curse seal and try again. Orochimaru urged again, unmoved. Do you doubt that it is my chakra? Seeing Orochimaru's serious attitude, Shiraishi suddenly realized and said, That's right, try again. Orochimaru nodded for Shiraishi to continue. Seeing this, Shiraishi no longer persisted and immediately pushed the power of the curse seal. The scarlet curse mark soon spread all over Shiraishi's body, and black lines appeared on his body. This is what you call the seal. Sure enough, it's very similar to my brother's Sage Mode. Second generation saw the curse mark on Shiraishi's body and that strange chakra, thoughtfully, before Orochimaru closed the seal after the battle. So second generation did not see Orochimaru's seal. With the blessing of Mantra 1, Shiraishi's chakra recovered instantly and doubled tenfold. Shiraishi grabs the turtle and enters chakra again. But just as his chakra entered the tortoise's body, the tortoise began to shake violently. Warning, warning, unknown energy, unable to absorb. Unknown energy, unable to absorb. Plow, yelled while shaking, startling everyone. On the blue and white striped turtle shell, black lines appear quickly. Oops, I forgot that the seal is chakra in Sage Mode. BGT. Orochimaru suddenly thought of this question, hurriedly stopped loudly. Shiraishi also reacted without Orochimaru reminding him, and hurriedly retreated from the cursed seal state. Warning, warning, abnormal energy, unable to replenish energy. Abnormal energy, unable to replenish energy. Chakra, who had shed the curse mark, entered the body of Plow, and a different mechanical sound sounded again. It's just that the black lines on the turtle shell remain forever. Shiraishi, it's really your fault. Mito-sama, please give him part of the Nine-Tails chakra. Orochimaru soon smelled different information and turned to Mito and shouted. Uzumaki Mito turned his head to look at Sarutobi Hiruzen and patted Shiraishi's shoulder with one hand after getting his approval. In an instant, Nine-Tails chakra entered Sunstone's body. After Nine-Tails chakra entered Shiraishi's body, it quickly entangled with Shiraishi's chakra and entered Plow's body. Receive low-level energy and start replenishing. This time, there were no surprises. Plow reminds twice to start replenishing energy. This made everyone ecstatic. Finally found a reason. Shiraishi's chakra will make Tailed Beast chakra a low-level energy that can be absorbed. Seeing this, Orochimaru quickly concluded. But within a few breaths, Shiraishi's chakra was exhausted again. Seeing Shiraishi's pale face, Uzumaki Mito quickly retracted the Nine-Tails chakra. Sarutobi, what the hell is going on here? Why did Tobirama Impure World Reincarnation come out? Uzumaki Mito asked with a foul breath. It's a long story, but everything is for Konoha. Sister-in-law, there is another important thing you need to do now. Does that brat have the potential to become a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? Second generation took up the conversation and asked questions instead of answering. His body can indeed accept the power of Nine-Tails. But Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is not just about physical ability. The power of Nine-Tails is too strong, and it must be suppressed by the blood successors of the Uzumaki clan. I found a candidate for the next Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Uzumaki Mito knew the meaning of second generation as soon as he heard it, and said politely, Since it's for Konoha, I won't ask any more questions. Sarutobi, let me tell you just now, my body is almost unable to hold on anymore, and I'm going to transfer the Nine-Tails seal another day. The candidate is Uzumaki Kushina. Uzumaki Mito then turned to Sarutobi Hiruzen. She's a dying old woman who's not interested in anything else. Kushina? No, Master Mito. Let me think about the next 9 tails. Jinchuriki. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought about the future 9 tails knight and Shiraishi's situation and declined after a moment of consideration. He had considered making Shiraishi 9 tails Jinchuriki before. Now the appearance of Plow has tilted Sarutobi Hiruzen's scale. However, Shiraishi's
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.